Guys, let's get 800 likes and I will release a new part. For a hitman, it's quite a long stay in Chengdu, but the wine is always nice. A charming beauty approaches the guy. She greets him, asking if he's the only one here. The brunette asks if they know each other. The girl says that she works as a waitress, so she saw him come here for a drink the other day. She evaluates the guy by his accent, realizing that he is a local, and then asks if he likes to drink. The guy also notices that the wine here is wonderful. A representative of the fair sex decides to continue the conversation. She wonders how he ended up in Chengdu. The brunette wants to tell the girl everything that he thinks about her, but a hand falls on his shoulder. Several bald men appear from behind, and their leader claims that this place is occupied. The hero does not understand what is being said. The man asks the guy to step aside so that he can sit down. He notices that he's been sitting here since he came in. The bald man clarifies, really all the time. He claims that all 5 days. At the same time, the guy drinks a glass of chilled alcohol. They ask him if he's looking for death, because they've been here for 5 years. They chase the guy away, and if he doesn't leave, he risks getting burned. One of the thugs grabs the handle of his knife and holds it to the man's throat. The waitress stiffens at what's happening. The brunette scratches the back of his head, telling him not to be so serious. He gets to his feet, giving up his seat and saying goodbye to the girl. The bartender also notes that this is a well-mannered boy. A representative of the fair sex calls him a simple coward, and then gets up from her seat, intending to go about her business, but the bald man grabs her hand. He does not understand where the beauty is going, and why she leaves them as soon as they come. The girl pulls her hand away, begging for forgiveness, and saying that she has a job waiting for her. This only turns the bandit on even more. He notices that when this gigolo was sitting here, she didn't have anything to do, and she just chatted with him, and now it's their turn. One of the guys notices that she wants to offend them with her act. The waitress clarifies what they want. The man asks her not to worry, saying that he is not a bad guy, but just wants to offer her a glass of wine. He opens the bottle and pours out the alcohol, handing it to the girl. The guys exchange expectant glances. Their leader suggests that she drink it as a sign of respect for his feelings. At least a sip or she will offend him. The other guys in the gang put her up to it. One says it's a very good red wine. Another notes that they will immediately leave as soon as she has a drink. The waitress drains her glass in one gulp, then asks them to leave, but her head starts to hurt abruptly. The glass shatters on the floor, and the boys grin contentedly. She realized late that she had made a fatal mistake. At the same time, the brunette is drinking at a table. He notices that 4 men are dragging the same girl on their backs. One of them says that he will help her have fun. Another notes that she has a small waist. The guy knows they're a bunch of fucking garbage. They retreat into a dark alley. The bandit notes that such a hot girl is just a match for the big boss. The boss calls them stupid idiots, because this girl is prettier than the previous one. He puts her on the ground, offering to have fun. The guys start groping her in all places. One of them notices that her skin is very smooth to the touch. Then another man comes into the alley and tells them to calm down. This someone turns out to be a hero. The baldies recognize that recent gigolo. He pisses them off. The brunette also suggests that the cowards go home. Their leader steps forward, noticing the guy's terrible style. At first, he assumes that the guy is an ordinary student, and then claims that he is an illegitimate bastard. The hero also has a strange bag in his hands, which rapists pay attention to. The guy comes closer to the bandits, whose leader can't stand it. He grabs a knife and strikes directly, wanting to kill him today. The dark-haired man dives under the enemy's blow, while simultaneously pulling out his knife with a deft movement. He instantly strikes back, which catches up with his target. Then he tosses the bag aside, because he has another knife in his other hand. The guy gets surrounded by bald men, but he quickly and confidently deals each of them a wound. When a guy finishes up with a bunch of scumbags, he says his name is Don and he's straight, so he hates assholes calling him a motherfucker. After a while, the waitress wakes up in the hospital. She doesn't understand why she's here. The nurse explains that her boyfriend brought her here. The girl immediately becomes interested in where he is and what he looked like. The nurse explains that the guy left, and he was very beautiful and positive in himself. The guy opens his eyes amid the jungle-like vegetation. A drop of water on his cheek wakes him up. He snaps back to consciousness, feeling like he's naked. Don tries to figure out what happened and how he ended up in the woods. He immediately grabs his head, because it is splitting. He remembers being at the Chengdu hotel, but he doesn't know where he is now. More importantly, where are his clothes and knife? He curses, not understanding how it happened. The brunette quickly deduces that it's definitely not Chengdu. It is located in some completely different place. Don speculates that he may have been dropped off by helicopter, but this is not the case. It doesn't matter now. The priority goal is to get out of this place. Then you can find the main instigator of this. With such thoughts, the hero ties himself with vines to close his intimate place and feel more comfortable. He starts moving forward through the dense undergrowth. The guy realizes that getting out will not be so easy because the forest is quite dense, but the main problem is that he cannot feel a single soul, and from this silence he has a chill running through his body. Then he notices a strange trail in the grass. He quickly concludes that such footprints belong to an animal. In the next instant, a loud growl comes from the thicket. Dawn breaks the distance with a somersault, and the beast comes out of the thicket. It's a huge bear. The brunette understands that it has monstrous strength and speed. Dawn had already made a spear out of wood. He is sure that he will have enough strength for this monster. The bear attacks, and the hero goes to the side, striking with a spear. Realizing that the attack was unsuccessful, he prepares for the second round, realizing that it is worth speeding up. The bear attacks him with a roar of rage. The guy jumps out of the way of a paw strike. The brunette begins to run away from the monster, but he is not afraid of it. His idea is to let the monster chase after him, then use the speed of the beast against him to increase the power of his blow. Choosing the perfect moment, the brunette jumps up a tree, then attacks the bear in response. A blow to the monster's face causes it to fall unconscious, but Dawn doesn't have time to relax. He looks back and sees that several four-legged monsters that look like hyenas, but have red pigmentation, have appeared on the carcass of the defeated enemy. The guy understands that the only thing he can do in this situation is to run. He breaks into a run, trying to get away from the monsters. Because of the dense forest, he doesn't notice that he's flying off a cliff. Dawn skillfully groups himself in the air, falling into the water. The boy swims ashore, trying to catch his breath, but a man in armor flies out of the reeds. He falls into the water with an arrow in his back. The hero pulls the wounded man out of the water, then carefully assesses the situation, looking out of the reeds. Chapter 1-3. Dawn is startled by what he sees. Men in armor fight to the death. He understands that this is not like some kind of casting in a movie. Several arrows fly towards him because there are soldiers in front of him. The brunette grabs them with his bare hands. He even wonders what happened after all, because it's all very strange. Everything looks so realistic. As he gets closer, he realizes that people are really dead. He touches the wound of one of the soldiers. There are a number of factors forming in his mind that make him believe that he is on the battlefield. The guy realizes that this is a bad sign. He drags the carcass of the deceased into the bushes, and then comes out in his armor. Dawn notices that she's sitting perfectly still, but he needs to get out of here first, and then he can figure out what to do next. Then an enemy soldier on horseback attacks the hero with a spear from the back. He realizes that he has lost his guard, but the man with the beard pulls him out from under the blow. He says something to him, but Dawn doesn't understand. Enemies are talking in a language unknown to the guy, but the latter does not intend to sit on the sidelines, because since his life was saved, he must repay in kind. The rider snaps at Dawn while the old man shouts something, probably trying to talk the guy out of something stupid. The guy jumps out of the way at the last moment. Both men grin, thinking they've already won, but a stab wound opens on the rider's head and he falls off the rope to the ground while Dawn stands unharmed. The battle stops. Soldiers in black begin to speak loudly, raising their morale. Enemies also desperately attack the hero, because he most likely killed the commander. The brunette confidently handles the spear, repelling the attacks of the crowd. The men in white armor stop their onslaught, not understanding how this is possible. None of them died, but many were badly wounded. Dawn also raises the spear above the ground, and then breaks it in two parts. The real battle begins. The hero cuts his way forward, attacking several opponents at once. He uses a stick and half a spear in battle. Obviously, his style is based on two swords or knives. But even with such things, he is adept at dealing with enemies. A gray-haired old man shouts something to the hero, but he does not understand it, so the peasant has to put himself under attack. Dawn doesn't kill him, surprised by this development. The man grabs the guy's shoulder and says something. The brunette doesn't understand what I'm talking about. Then the old man explains on his fingers that he wants to retreat. There is a reason, and the man points a finger at her. A huge enemy army is moving through the canyon. Dawn realizes that this is getting dangerous. He curses, because he doesn't understand where so many enemies came from. The hero starts running away with everyone else. He sees that not everyone will be able to leave the battlefield. He realizes that these guys are even more violent than he is. The brunette tries to figure out the reason why he got involved in this fight in the first place, but it doesn't matter right now. There are only a few thousand soldiers on the Allied side, when the enemy has at least 10 and probably even more, so we must retreat. Seeing that the old man who saved his life is exhausted and unable to run on his own, Dawn scoops him up onto his shoulders, mentally noting that they should try to disappear as quickly as possible. The brunette understands that if they delay, they will surely die. The man says something, presumably asking him to leave. Dawn is surprised to find a dead end. The realization that things are getting worse does not please the hero. It turns in the direction of the enemies. Their leader stepped forward. He said something, after which a volley of arrows was sent towards the Allied army. There are too many arrows, so Dawn can't protect everyone. Several hundred soldiers were killed at once. He gets an idea of how to get out of this situation. He looks back, but the old man is already dead. An arrow stabs him in the shoulder, bringing him to his senses. He pulls it out abruptly, then makes a quick dash for cover. He's going to sit here and come out when everyone's gone. The soldiers also filled up the entrance to the shelter with carcasses. But everything is not so simple, because the enemy leader took out a torch, apparently intending to set fire to all the corpses of the enemy, so that there are no survivors. Don coughs up blood. He managed to get a bandage from somewhere and bind up his injured arm. At the same time, a fire breaks out outside. The guy wonders if he's going to die here. This causes him to laugh hysterically, which turns into a cough. He begins to think that this is how God punishes him for all those murders and his cruelty. After that, the hero declares that all this is funny, starting to laugh. At the same time, a bone hand appears from the ground. The hero's pupils narrow to the size of a needle when he sees a hand. After a couple of seconds, a full-fledged skeleton climbs out of the ground. The brunette doesn't understand what this nonsense is, and where this skeleton came from in the first place. When the skeleton is fully revealed, Don realizes that it is most likely a ghost, because it is surrounded by an evil scarlet aura. The dead man looks directly at the hero, and the hero doesn't even know what to say. When the ghost starts walking towards him, the dark-haired man greets him, then asks him not to go near, warning that he has put a cloud on people like him. Then he asks why he got out in the first place. The skeleton pulls its hand towards the other person, opening its jaw, in which a strange red ball appears. The dark-haired man doesn't understand what's going on here at all, and then all his vision is blurred by white light. It turns out to be completely naked in a white space. His name is Young Lai. It just so happened that he became a dark spirit. One day, he fell in love with a woman named Shujin. He would do anything for her, even give up your life. But later, he had to fight 5 other masters for it in Xianying Valley. This could be called a battle between the masters of light and darkness. The result was only a sea of blood spilled for nothing. He had never asked her to be grateful to him, but what had happened had turned his mind upside down. She had betrayed him in their promise to love each other forever. She asked Zai and Shenjai to finish him off when he was already mortally wounded. As he bled, he screamed her name with tears in his eyes. He didn't want to believe what was happening, reaching for her like the last ray of light. He would never forget how that Zai and Shenji had laughed when he was dying, and how their bond with Shujin had been shattered when the enemy had kissed her. The hero woke up in the real world. He got to his feet, feeling the energy seep into his body. He understands that this power should have been transferred to the one whose blood will be spilled in this place. Don realizes that he must now learn Young Lai's power and memories before becoming a master of the dark arts. The brunette is a little sorry that his halo was already depleted, which is why the guy managed to absorb only a little, but Don is not upset because it played into his hands in his position. The guy climbs out of his hiding place, where there is a pile of burnt corpses. He's going to go after Shujin. He was very lucky, because thanks to Young Lai's spirit, his wounds were completely healed. The hero admits that this spirit is still amazing, because his wounds are not only completely healed, but he also feels much better. The body began to feel very light. After entering the battlefield, he started walking over the corpses of his comrades. Don doesn't understand what they've done. He wants to cut them up, but he can't understand why he feels compassion for these people. The answer is found quickly. It's in the spirit of Young Lai. The brunette realizes that sharing a body with such an annoying spirit will be problematic, because he is too soft-hearted. The spirit decides to get out of here quickly and find Shujin. The hero also asks for forgiveness from him, believing that first they need to avenge their soldiers. It turns out that Dong is located in Haoshan. The capital is Shangjin, founded by Yunjin. Haoshan includes 9 kingdoms. Recently, ordinary landlords have increased their influence so much that they have become the equal of even the most royal nobility, so now there is a sense of tension between them. The landlords could have tried to overthrow the real power, but so far they didn't dare because of fear of the kingdom's strength. The hero is located in Feng, the birthplace of Young Lai. Don gets to the next battle, which is more like a fight. He recognizes the Ninggi warriors. He is happy about it, because now he can repay them for everything. The guy notes that there is more 19 than he expected. A few hundred, at least, but a few hundred is nothing to him. Then a voice from the back turns to the hero, clarifying whether he is going to defeat the whole pack alone. He looks around, asking if he's from Feng. The unknown person notices that if he were not from Feng, then he would already be a corpse. Don also says that the young man is not a mistake, because all this time I was watching him and he did not notice. It is for this reason that the hero wonders why he did not deal with their enemies, since he is so capable. The interlocutor confesses that he has been sitting here all the time, because without spiritual martial arts there is nothing to catch, only to die in vain. Mentally, the hero notices that he thought that the opponent was a martial artist. Don snatches the spear from the other person, claiming that his companions are fighting on the battlefield, and he is here to cool off, sitting on the spot and watching. The guy calls him a pathetic coward. Tom doesn't like this, so he notices that there are still a lot of enemies left. While they have more than 20 people, and only a few of those who can still fight. The hero grins at this, and then breaks into battle. The other person asks him to think better of it and stop. One of the allies was surrounded on both sides. While he was holding off one enemy's onslaught, the other was about to stab him in the back. Don stops him with one quick and precise punch, punching him in the chest. Opponents quickly notice the appearance of a new soldier in the ranks of the unfriendly army. One of them offers to throw all of them at him at once, but it doesn't really help. The hero confidently holds the blow, killing several people with each swing of the spear. At the same time, the allies rejoice, believing that they are saved. Don asks them to go ahead, assuring them that he will cover their retreat. Meanwhile, the guy from the bushes is amazed at what is happening. Everyone praises Don, calling him powerful. When the survivors escape, the hero notes that now there is a place to turn around. He throws his weapon at the feet of his enemies, thereby showing that he will fight with his bare hands. Those who understand that it was a very arrogant act. A soldier with an incredible mass and height comes forward. He's twice the guy's height and weighs 5 times as much. He declares that he will fight Don. The brunette just smiles at that. Such actions make the bully angry, and he shouts that he will cut the guy in half. He raises his axe over his head with one hand, and Don notices that his opponent is acting too thoughtlessly. Dark energy begins to spread across the hero's arm. At the last moment, the hero moves away from the enemy's blow, declaring that his mistake is a great pity. The guy's hand is on the helmet of the opponent in an instant, who immediately starts begging to be released. In a few seconds, the entire body of the bully is engulfed in dark fire, and Don himself demands that they burn to ashes. The soldiers are afraid to approach this madman, and the sloth from the bushes is amazed that his interlocutor has a dark fire. In a short period of time, Bigman's entire body disappears, turning into energy. All that remains is the armor. Don declares that none of them will leave here alive today. The fighters don't know if they're facing a human or a monster. This causes laughter from the hero, who emphasizes that now each of them will share the fate of this poor guy. After these words, the brunette breaks into a crowd of enemies. Some do not have time to react to his attacks, but some still manage to follow the guy's movements. But this is not enough, because Don easily avoids all their attacks, and his touches dry up the soldiers. In a few minutes, only their armor remains from the enemies. Dong thanks Yang Lai, because it's quite a useful ability, but it's just tiring to accumulate energy. This dark fire is one of the skills of the masters of the dark arts. Don realizes that he's not as useless as he thought. A pathetic coward comes out of the bushes, claiming that the guy is a master of the dark art. The hero is surprised that this person turned to him again. The latter assures that Tom should not worry, because he will not tell anyone. Don decides to clarify whether the other person can control his fire or has just seen it before. The guy admits that he can't do anything like this, but he's read a lot of books and knows astronomy and geography, and he also knows it all from books about dark martial arts. The hero also says that he is sure that the guy will inform the others, so he will have to kill him, because only the dead man will not tell anyone anything. The boy crosses his hands, saying that there is no way, and that he can't kill him because he will lose a lot. Don even wonders what he's going to lose. The other person says that he is so well read that no one can tell him more than he can, so he should go with a dark martial artist and help him with everything. His name is Eugene. Don settles into a sitting position, noting that for the last few minutes he's been thinking about going back in time. The guy doesn't understand what it's like to go back in time. The interlocutor explains to him that this is when a person moves back from their actual time, but this does not reach the interlocutor. Dark martial arts are divided into 2 schools, internal and external. The teaching of the dark art and the light art do not have any special differences. The strengthening of Reiki depends on the students themselves. They differ only in their skills and abilities. However, in the inner school of the dark arts, the student cannot strengthen his Reiki by himself. In order to accumulate Reiki, the student must constantly fight, killing their enemies with dark fire. Dark fire is the foundation of the inner school. It is also the most difficult skill. At the very beginning, a disciple can be killed by their own dark fire, which is why there are so few of them right now followers of the dark school. Because of this, all dark arts experience rejection and pressure from other schools. Therefore, students of the dark martial art are treated as enemies. Under such pressure, those who have ever wanted to practice this art have to give up after combining. Yang Pai Tenjin has a small supply of Reiki, so he needs to replenish it. The enemies that appear in front of them are the best way to do this, but he doesn't want to give himself away, so he sends the Feng warriors ahead to see his abilities. Eugene claims that he is the smartest person here because of his reading skills. This makes Don laugh, who, after calming down, decides to clarify, since the interlocutor is so smart, why he is not yet an officer, but only cannon fodder. The same explains that it is difficult for a commoner to achieve heights in military affairs. The system is simple. The more enemies you kill, the faster you get promoted. Eugene will collect the heads of their enemies to get a reward. So Dawn will be their strength, and he will be their head. If they combine their powers, they will become invulnerable, and also get a faster promotion. The guy clarifies, so what does the hero think about the idea of forming an alliance? Then he notices that the other person is leaving. Eugene shouts after him, not knowing where he's gone. The hero explains that the guy will never learn a spiritual martial art, so he will only be a burden for him. Besides, he's not interested in titles or war. He needs to sort out his personal affairs. The interlocutor notices that the hero is very rude, because he speaks as if he is nothing, although he, at least, is a scientist. He says goodbye to the guy, then leaves. Eugene asks him to stop. Dawn tells me that he is going to the city of the moon spirit. The interlocutor thinks about it, then asks if this is the city that is at the peak of sunset, and why he should go there. The hero confirms that this is exactly the right city, and then asks if the interlocutor knows where this place is. Eugene points out that he knows astronomy and geography perfectly, so there is no place in the world that he doesn't know. But he makes a reservation that there are few people who know anything about this place, because a few hundred years ago this city turned into a pile of ruin. He believes that the scientist is lying, but Eugene assures him that he can't lie, because all that remains of this city is history. The hero recalls that when he saw Tupyon lie, he was already decomposed to the bone. To confirm his guess, Dawn decides to find out what year it is, according to the imperial calendar. The interlocutor replies that it is 805. It turns out that it's been 500 years since Yonglai's death. Shujin and Zion Shenjai are already dead. After all, they couldn't have lived for 500 years. The hero thinks about what to do with his revenge, where to go and how it all could have happened. The hero clutches his head, not understanding why everything turned out this way. Then Eugene's hand falls on his shoulder. The guy asks what's wrong with him. Dawn also says that now he doesn't know where to go, or even what to do. He has a feeling that everything has lost its meaning. But the scientist notices that there is nothing to think about. In their time they should do something completely unimaginable. He asks the master of dark martial arts to put it out of his mind, because first they need to get out of this place. The hero specifies whether the friend offers to simply run away from the battlefield. Eugene explains that this battle is in Ning territory. The wrong time and place was chosen here, so if you don't run away, you can only wait for your fate. Yun and Ning have long been neighbors, so the war between them never stopped. Fights are being held for the eastern territory of the river. The eastern territory of the river has fertile soils and is rich in minerals. The territory is divided into Feng and Ning domains. Later, Ning had some problems and asked Feng for help. The ruler promised to give half of the land to Feng, but Feng gets the land to Ning. Because of this, Ning expresses his displeasure. As Ning deals with his problems, the country tries to reclaim its lands, but Feng is not going to give up anything. That's when the war between the two countries begins. During the battle, Ning and Feng occupy the eastern territory of the river. Both countries claim that the eastern lands are theirs. The losses are growing. It is already difficult to assess the situation. The hero decides to clarify the situation, whether all this is because of the eastern territories. Eugene points out that it would be nice if they took back the eastern territories. It's terrible that they've had so many battles this year. They've lost many times before, and he doesn't know when they'll be able to get their land back. Dawn understands that since the founding of Feng, the war has not stopped. The scientist says he never found out his name. The hero introduces himself as Tenjin. Eugene notes that if the interviewee stays in the army, then his abilities will be appreciated and he can even become his patron. The hero decides to find out if he wants to make friends with him. Eugene replies that he can say so. In addition, he emphasizes that if the hero takes it with him, he cannot worry that someone will find out his secret. Tenjin makes a blot, saying that he won't worry if he kills him. Then the scientist declares that the guy will not do it. This confidence intrigues the hero a little, so he decides to find out where its origins come from. Eugene explains that if he kills him, he will lose someone who can give him a new idea, so he must understand how important it is to him now. The scientist notes that they can't stay here too long, which is why it's worth moving out right now. The hero still decides to find out where they are going. The scholar replies that they are going to Tongmen, because they will be safe if they go through it, because most of the warriors are there. The hero also recalls that Tongmen is one of the most important cities of Feng on the eastern front. Outside of Tongmen are the lands for which the war is being waged. Through the city stretches a plain, along which you can go to the capital of Feng, Yangcheng. He thinks that there is no reliable defensive position there. Eugene says that from his observations, he realized that the partner is a beginner in the spiritual martial art, so he decides to find out what level he has reached. The hero explains that he can barely move for the light of the spirit. Tenjin specifies how the interlocutor understood this. The scientist explains that everything is very simple. The dark fire he used is a lethal discharge. If he's not mistaken, this is the first level of dark fire. The hero notices that he has now realized that Eugene does not understand anything about this. This turns the other person on, and they decide to show their knowledge, considering it a second chance. Dark fire has 3 levels. Pervy, deadly burning. With it, he can burn down any opponent and collect 50% of their Reiki. The second is spiritual burning. With it, he can collect 100% of the Reiki. And the third is absolute burning. With it, he can incinerate everything in this world and collect the Reiki of all living creatures. But after the incident in the martial arts world, no one has reached the 3rd level yet. Even now, there is almost no one who practices dark fire, so it is surprising that this happened to the interlocutor. Eugene laughs, amazed at how smart he is. The hero notices something strange. Tenjin shuts up the other person's mouth, demanding to be quiet. He lays him down on the ground, saying that he feels a murderous urge. He walks forward, asking me to follow him. Here, a bald, beefy man appears from the bushes, who tries to take advantage of the surprise effect, attacking the hero in flight with a battle pole. The dark-haired man sends the attacker to the ground with one powerful blow. The same person understands that he has met exactly the person he was looking for. A crowd of young men jump out of the bushes, shouting the name of their leader. His name is Ola Jang. Tenjin decides to ask if they are from Feng. The leader of the group stops his men, saying that they are all from Feng. One of the subordinates asks if this is the guy who saved them all. He exhales calmly, realizing they're all on the same side of the fence. It turns out that all these soldiers said a lot about the hero. He's glad he's still alive. Eugene also notes that it is very good that they are on their side. Ola Jang approaches the hero, apologizing for his attack, because he thought that he was from the Ning, who are chasing them. Tenjin notices that they don't look like they're running away from the chase, so he asks why they were hiding in the bushes instead. The leader explains that their people are exhausted, so they can't leave. Eugene states that if they don't want to die, they should go with brother Tenjin, because when the Ning get here, they will all die. These words amaze everyone, and the hero gets a little angry. Feeling this tense atmosphere, the scientist decides to explain to his friend that there is nothing wrong with the number, because the more they are, the safer it is. And if he leaves them alone, they will definitely die, because they are already barely standing on their feet. Tenjin is forced to agree to increase his group. Eugene then announces that his brother has agreed to take them with him. Merging with Yang Lai made Tenjin a ball and helped start a new life. This created a new legend for Feng. This story is just beginning. Eugene understands that they will hide here and wait until the Ning convoy passes, but he doesn't know how they will get the horses. The hero suggests simply stealing them. Ola Jang notices that this will be too dangerous, so you should think of something else. At this time, the horsemen of the enemy army gallop nearby, chasing the comrades of the Trinity. The leader of the group, seeing how his surviving comrades are killed, gets angry, but there is nothing he can do. Then a huge Ning soldier bursts into the crowd of Feng soldiers, who is practically unarmored. He uses a spear, which easily cuts off the limbs of enemies. Everyone is amazed at what they saw. Even Tenjin is a little tense from this. A unique fighter declares that all of them here must die. The surviving soldiers tremble in fear, falling off their feet in terror. A muscular enemy soldier raises his weapon to continue the carnage. Then one of the Feng soldiers starts sobbing, begging for someone to help them. Eugene urges his brother to be reasonable, because it will be too dangerous to interfere in this. But when he turns his head, the hero is no longer there. He notices that Tenjin has entered the battlefield again. With one powerful blow, he forced the bully to back away, but the muscle car did not fall, and even struck back, from which the hero dodged. The rest of the Ning riders stopped to watch such an unusual fight. Eugene was chastising his teammates for missing the guy. At the same time, Tenjin stood in front of a huge warrior, who began to grin at the sight of a strong opponent. They began to slowly draw closer to each other. The hero realized that he had absorbed the spirit of the fallen soldiers, and then collected them in his weapons to release them. This is a bad sign, because he can only control the flow of energy so far, but this does not mean that Tenjin will give up. After dodging several attacks from the enemy, the guy inflicts a wound on him, asking if he has ever heard of a game of cat and mouse. The hero quickly realizes that the enemy does not understand him. The goon runs his hand over a shallow wound on his torso, and his leader orders the arrogant boy to be killed. However, there are twinkles in the giant's eyes. He orders everyone to stop, stating that none of them will pass to him because this is his opponent. This time, Tenjin attacks first. He throws a jump punch with his sword. The goon takes it on his spear. Their auras collide with each other, figuring out who is stronger. It doesn't last even a moment, because the guy realizes that he is inferior in brute force to the enemy, so he stops the collision, soaring into the sky. The enemy's attack goes into the milk, and he also steps on his head, sticking his sword right in the back. The hero does not linger on the enemy, because he is still combat ready. He jumps away from it in time, moves away from the point of the spear, and then hits the enemy's head in the fall. The sword goes into the head, but the helmet dampens most of the impact. The muscle car gets angry, grabbing the hero by the throat and starting to squeeze. A bloody cough escapes from the guy's mouth, and the enemy prepares to kill him. The hero declares that he will not die here. The sword gets stuck in the head of the bully, so he reaches out with his hand to the head of the opponent, wanting to devour him to the last drop. The hero's eyes turn red, and the iris turns black. It reaches the enemy, starting to envelop him in black flames. The opponent asks you to stop, knowing what is going on. In an instant, the body of a huge, muscular soldier disappears into Tenjin's hand. His mouth is steaming, and his eyes are filled with an unquenchable thirst for blood. The Ning riders are confused, not quite sure what to do. Eugene commands a squad of soldiers, announcing that the leader of the enemy army has been killed, which means that it's time to attack. They break into battle. The bald commander demands that no one is allowed to leave, because they need their heads to get a reward. A battle begins, in which soldiers in black armor immediately begin to crowd the enemies, who are confused by what is happening. They haven't let go of what they've seen yet. The hero notices that everything is very interesting. He stands there and doesn't interfere with the carnage, just laughing at the whole thing. The Ning soldiers begin to run away in a panic, but they are blocked by a bald commander who notices that they have nowhere to run. With a couple of swings, he takes the life of cowards. Eugene approaches the hero, who states that he thinks these are the people he was looking for. The scientist asks his brother to try not to do this again, because he risks his life. The hero also notes that this should not concern him at all. Eugene claims that this was the case before, but not now, because his life directly depends on his. So while they are alive, we must cling to every opportunity. Here the scientist stops abruptly. Tenjin explains that he knows what needs to be done. He emphasizes that he is not a complete idiot, and then clarifies why the interlocutor fell silent. Eugene also picks up a strange thing from the ground. Recognizing it as a clerk, this is the sign of the commander of 1,000 people in the ancient Greek army. Eugene starts to cry, because this is their first achievement. The hero notices that the reward gives a head, but they don't have his head. The interlocutor says that it's okay, because the soldiers' badges will also come off. Besides, there were a lot of witnesses. Tenjin notices that he now understands why he collected the tokens. The scientist claims that he will do it himself. He orders his subordinates to collect all the heads so that they can exchange them for a reward. Night falls. My friends send me a head. The hero decides to find out how many people they have. Eugene says a little over 100. He divided them into 4 groups with their temporary captains, making Tenjin their leader and himself his deputy. The hero decides to clarify whether they are going to Tongmin or not. The interlocutor gives a positive answer, but Tenjin notes that they will need a huge number of horses in this case. Eugene suggests we take our time. He believes that you should first move at the fastest speed, and only later try to get the horses along the way. After that, the scientist changes the subject, wanting to introduce him to the 4 temporary captains. 4 soldiers come out of the bushes, after which Eugene asks them to introduce themselves to their leader. Their names are Yuhua, Zhangbao, Liu, and Zhonghun. The scientist says that now they can go to bed, because tomorrow they will have a difficult road. The hero notices that it will rain tomorrow. The next morning comes, and as the hero said, it's raining outside. He points out that if they keep moving at the same pace, they won't get to Tongmen in not only 3, but 10 days. Eugene says they've been through quite a lot, and people are exhausted and need a break. The hero allows them to take a little breath. Then the scientist first falls on his back, saying that he has been waiting for these words for a very long time. The guy calls Zhangbao to him. The hero notes that as soon as they stop to rest for a period of more than 5 minutes, he must send a soldier to patrol the territory in order to notice the enemy within a mile radius. A man doesn't know what 5 minutes is. The guy explains that this is the time it takes to burn a stick of sandalwood. The subordinate accepts the order. Eugene notices that Brother Tang is going a little overboard. The hero approaches him, stating that Tom needs to remember something. He says that it is better to protect yourself once again than to die because of carelessness. The other person accepts these words. Then one of the scouts comes running, shouting that he has an urgent message. It turns out that the enemies are right at the front. Eugene marvels that they've been caught up in such a short time. Tenjin also specifies how many of them there are. The subordinate admits that they are too far away to say exactly how many troops they have, but they have horses. These words make the leader smile, because everything is going very well for them. He orders everyone to take their places and put everything away so that they don't leave anything behind. Everyone is hiding in the bushes. There is a small army of the enemy. Eugene, looking at them from the bushes, doesn't understand how he didn't see them. Tenjin drags him into the bushes, telling him to keep a low profile. Here the scientist asks to wait. He manages to make out the girl at the beginning of the army. This is a beauty with purple hair. Her name is Ons. It is important for the hero whether they belong to Feng or not. Eugene explains that Feng includes the 4 strongest families, Zhang, Dance, and Liang. The girl belongs to the dance family. The hero comes out of the bushes, ordering everyone to follow him. He approaches the rider. Eugene asks him to come to his senses, because he does not understand what his brother is up to. Tenjin asks the brothers to come out, because the riders are on their side. The rider, who is approached by the hero, understands that it is embroidered from Feng. He decides to find out who is in charge here, because he will go with him to their general. The scientist decides to clarify something to the hero. He asks not to anger the dance family, because she has great power. Tenjin says that Eugene will go with him, and Eugene notices that accompanying dance can save their lives. They walk out of the crowd and are greeted by a purple-haired beauty on a horse. It specifies which regiment they belong to. Eugene, realizing that they are the leaders of the Feng Dens, bows his head, declaring that it is an honor for him to see the two Dens generals. He notices that his brother is not kneeling. The girl decides to find out if these are his people. The hero understands that he is communicating with a woman. Eugene asks his brother to kneel in a whisper, but he doesn't, claiming that they are just ordinary Feng warriors, and he was just leading them. The interlocutor becomes interested in this, and she asks his name. The hero calls his name. His subordinates, who have bowed their knees, are surprised by what is happening. They are afraid that their leader will bring down the girl's anger on them. The same notes that he is an interesting guy. The leader laughs, then announces that starting today, Tenjin and his group of deserters will obey her. The hero does not like that she called his subordinates deserters. Eugene asks his brother to calm down. The scholar bows his head, saying that they have fought countless battles with the Ning along the way, killing hundreds of their soldiers, including Hillark. The last word surprises the girl. The guy holds out a token, asking the general to check it out. The leader carefully studies it, then offers to see the Daning, because in her opinion it is authentic. The second girl says that it belonged to Zhao Yang. She wonders if Eugene killed him. The latter says that it was not he who did it, but his brother, who is a master of spiritual arts. This surprises both girls. The first one decides to find out what his rank is. The hero claims that he is an ordinary soldier. The girl can't understand how he can remain an ordinary soldier when he is a master of spiritual arts. She assumes that he didn't even attend the admissions office. She finds this very suspicious, so she decides to find out what's on his mind. The girl activates the recognition spell. Tenjin's aura strikes her to the core. She says he's one of the Dark Masters. These words strain everyone present. The smile also disappears from the hero's face. As a child, Yang Lai was bullied by his peers who wanted to beat him to death. His beloved intervened in the case, who often tried to stop the beating. They always threatened him with death if he continued to practice the dark martial art. One of them noted that the light school belongs to the fire element, and the dark school belongs to the water element, so he is not a match for them. They were telling him to stop studying the dark arts and leave Rainview. The hero takes a fighting stance. The iris becomes black, and the eyes themselves take on a scarlet hue. Subordinates are encouraged to stop it. He understands that there are probably two light masters here, so to survive, he will have to kill both of them. The soldiers draw their swords. Their leader calls for protecting the generals, but the girl already declares that Tenjin is not their enemy. She turns to the guy, asking if he didn't want them to know that he was one of the Dark Masters. The girl asks if the guy visited the admissions office. He freezes, not understanding what is being said. Eugene steps forward, saying that it's true. He asks his brother to calm down, because now he will not have to hide his power. He asks Tenjin to just nod at everything. The girl notices that this is a very resourceful guy who quickly resolved the situation. She clarifies whether the hero would not like to become her Hillard of the Third Corps. This proposal raises many questions for the second general. This suggestion shocks Eugene. He immediately drops to one knee, thanking the girl for the offer. He asks Tenjin to do the same. The latter thanks you for the offer. The beauty also notices that he deserves all this, because killing Zhao Yang and saving the surviving squad is entirely his merit. But now they are in a difficult situation, so she will not be able to give him a squad of thousands of soldiers while he has to be content with his own. Guys, let's get 800 likes and I will release a new part. Eugene congratulates his brother on his promotion, noting that he is now free to call him a Chiliarch. The hero claims that this title does not interest him. Then the friend jokingly says that he can apply for the rank of colonel or general, and then announces what exactly. He will be his assistant today, and tomorrow his general. The hero notices that he didn't say such a thing. Their conversation is interrupted by a girl. It encourages them to move in the same direction. Tenjin thinks about how he should get out of this situation. The guy decides to introduce himself to one of the riders. His name is Wui, and he is a colonel of the Third Corps. The man apologizes for the events that took place earlier, wishing give the hero a horse as an apology. The guy notes that there's nothing wrong with that. Happened and thanks for the space. The interviewee states that they are now on the same side. Therefore, there is no need to follow the formalities, because he is only a few years older than him. so he can call him Brother Wu. Tenjin climbs into the square, saying that respect is one of the most important things in the army. This causes Colonel Wu laughs. Eugene, on the other hand, knows in his mind that Brother Teng is doing a great job, and he's in a good mood. He didn't doubt it. Brother Wu informs them that they will rest in the evening, and then he will be given his badge and a new uniform, and there's nothing he can do about the warriors, because they've lost too many battles. Third and the Fourth Corps had more than 20,000 warriors, but no one was left. They also had 10 Chiliarchs are at the very beginning of the campaign, but 5 of them are already dead, and 2 more are deadly wounded. Only 3 of them can fight. Now they need more than just Chiliarchs. The colonel points out that, fortunately, both the ladies of dance were unharmed, so now they are being treated to the same treatment. The main task is to protect them. Tenjin falls a little behind the group to call Eugene over, from whom he decides to ask who the ladies of dance are. This causes a stupor in a scientist who does not know what to do. Understands how his brother might not know who they are. Eugene begins to explain. The one who gave him the rank, Wu Mei, General Dance. The other one is the same. This is Wu In, Jin's second daughter. The guy asks his brother to remain vigilant and give them appearances fool themselves, because they are cold-blooded, evil, cruel devils. This surprises Tenjin a little, but he still takes these words into account. Evening comes, and the army sets up camp. Brother Wu comes to the hero's tent, taking his new combat uniform with him and equipment. The guy takes a small sign, realizing that it is his token. Comrades are happy that the general kept his word, which is why Tenjin will now look like a real Chiliarch. The hero decides to find out if he can make Eugene his assistant. Brother Wu points out that it's all up to him. It is the Chiliarch who can decide who to appoint. After that, the colonel asks the hero to go with him to the generals because they have business with him. Tenjin asks if the other person knows what she wants from him. The man obviously knows, however, says he'll know when to meet her. The hero asks you to wait, deciding first. Try on a new form. Wu is waiting for the guy outside the tent. It doesn't take long for him to get out of it. A new uniform. The guards at the general's tent only let him pass because they want to. See you alone. He gets a suspicious premonition. He wants to apologize for what bothered him at such a late hour, but when he opens the curtain to the tent, he freezes because a representative of the fair sex lies in a very provocative pose, saying that she is very happy. See it? Tenjin asks right from the doorway why General Wu needed him at such a late hour. He looks away from me, so as not to be provoked. The girl laughs, saying that General Tenjin is as smart as he is brave, and this armor, they sit on it like a glove. The hero asks the interlocutor not to mock him. She ask him to sit down, and the hero fulfills this request, taking a samurai pose on his knees. A representative of the fair sex clarifies whether a weapon is suitable for a young person. That one gives a short answer, saying that this will do. She also says that her father gave this sword as a gift when she was 18 years old. At the same time, the girl crawls up to the interlocutor, touching then he looks directly into the guy's eyes, noting that he hopes that General Tenjin is a good guy. Stay with them. Tenjin thanks General Wu, claiming that she is very generous. The girl opens the map, saying that according to the latest data, the Ning army is located in this area, at a point on the only accessible road to Tongmen. There are more than 8,000 of them. Thus, we'll have to go back to Tongmen and fight off the attack. The hero understands that they are waiting for a hard job. General Wu says it's very difficult, but there's nothing you can do about it. The enemy's strength is great, but its units are dispersed. Having selected a selected squad, they attack in the center. Then both flanks of the enemy will move to the center to repel the attack. The girl notices that General Tenjin is like a dragon and a phoenix among people, so if she takes over the command of the unit that strikes in the center, she can be sure of success of the entire operation. The hero is silent, thinking about the situation. Representative. The fair sex believes that General Tenjin will not refuse to carry out this order. Guy declares that after the generosity shown to her, he has no choice but to take a chance with your life and do it. The girl understands that she was not mistaken in the interlocutor. She puts her arm around his shoulders, making sure he doesn't. If he wants to stay any longer, General Wu wants to kiss him, but the brunette abruptly breaks up, distance himself by pulling him to his feet and telling him that he was good at killing more people, not killing more people. Courtship. The hero turns around, claiming to have understood General Wu's plan, so he asks for permission. Leave it, noticing that he will wait for the order to move. With that, he leaves the tent. Girls. She also knows that she has stumbled upon a very interesting specimen. When he returns to his tent, he tells his friends what they are going to do. Eugene says it's certain death. Tenjin also notices that his brother once said that he had 5 carts of knowledge in his head. A small cart, which means he'll figure out a way for them to save their own skins. The scientist begins reflect on the situation. The hero says that they need a plan to break through deep enemy units to their commander-in-chief. He asks the other person to think about it while he sleeps. Eugene, on the other hand, understands that he has been given a great responsibility, so he starts analyzing it. After a while, he comes to the conclusion that if the brother, Tenjin, wants to get to their commander, there's only one way to do it. The next morning, at dawn, the hero gathers all his people. The order has already been received, so he won't be able to refuse. The guy says he doesn't want to put them in a difficult position, so if they want to go with him, he will be happy, and if they don't want to, he won't force them. He informs them that they can stay and follow General Wu. Zhang Bao first falls on me, stating that if it wasn't for brother Tenjin, he would have been killed by warrior Ning long ago, so his life is in the hands of his savior. Where brother Tenjin goes, so does he. The heads of the other squads fall to their knees, saying that they will follow brother Tenjin into the fire water. This triggers a battle cry from the soldiers, which increases morale. The hero decides to clarify that they might die if they follow him, so he asks if they are not afraid of death. The soldiers in one voice shout that with brother Tenjin they are not afraid of the devil himself. Then the guy gives the orders. Zhang Bao's men will have to change into Ning warriors' uniforms. The third squad will pretend to be prisoners. Eugene starts to say something, but the hero interrupts him, noting that this whole thing is extremely dangerous, so his deputy will remain here with the sisters. Wu. He orders the guy not to follow him into the heat of battle. The scientist specifies whether they will see each other. More of them. The brunette admits that he doesn't know, but he will try to come back. There's a man here who brought it to him yesterday. Reports that General Wu is ordering them to move out. The hero commands about the beginning. Operations. Soldiers during the march sing a song. When trouble came to the country, I went to war. I will die with honor or return with glory. At this time, second sister Deng says she doesn't know. Why did my sister choose this person? Because his Reiki is not so powerful. The girl is the same. He claims that he feels that everything will work out for him. The hero puts the point of the sword to the enemy's throat. He doesn't understand what's going on because Tenjin has put his clothes on Ning's uniform. Everyone else turns around at this sight, and the hostage realizes that they have. A spy appeared in the rear. The guy cuts the enemy soldier's throat without any hesitation. Blood flows freely. One of the soldiers tries to inform the others about the enemy, demanding that they do not let him near them. To the prince, Tenjin also throws a sword at him, which plunges into the mouth, coming out from the back of the head. The man drops dead, and the guy warns that he will kill all those who stand in his way. The soldiers are ordered to kill the impudent man, but the hero calmly moves towards his goal by cutting. An ordinary warrior with his sword appears, a man with a beard and mustache, clad in golden armor. He demands that everyone leave his place. Roads. At the same time, a group of soldiers leading prisoners of war is stopped at the Ning checkpoint. They demand that you let them pass immediately, because this group of Feng prisoners may have important information. The soldier at the gate says that the head of Yu has just come with news that they will be able to. We'll have to wait. The interviewee states that since such circumstances have developed, they'll wait here. Soldier Ning notices that they are tired, so they can rest, because the head of Yu, it won't be free for a while yet. This forces a Feng soldier disguised in an enemy uniform tense up and ask why this is. The reason is the prince. Such a display of curiosity makes the guard tense. So he notices that the other person is asking too many questions for an ordinary soldier. At this point, the guy draws his sword. The guy plunges the point of the sword into the soldier's throat, and then uses it as a support too. They could jump on nearby Ning soldiers, one of whom wants to report the enemy, but already it's too late, because his head is flying off his shoulders. The other soldiers step forward, pointing at me. They surround the guy, trying to attack him from a decent distance and at the same time with the help of long spears, but he bends down in time, and then cuts off all of them with a sweeping movement. Opponent's legs. Those present are tense because of such unique skills of the guy. He's taking off his helmet, showing your face. This person turns out to be the hero. Zhang Bao asks Brother Teng, move forward, leaving the rest of the bastards to him. That's what he does. A commotion begins in the inner part of the camp. Higher ranks give orders, strengthen security, because if something happens, they're screwed. Tenjin understands that he needs to go faster, get to the main tent, because his guys won't last long. Then he hears a rustle, sides of the tent entrance. Soldier Ning comes to him and immediately points his sword at him, asking who he was and what he was doing here. The guy claims that the enemy is so strong that he decided to sit out here. Upon hearing this, the interviewee, he screams that he is a pathetic coward and that he will be court-martialed. Tenjin orders him, shut up. The hero draws his sword with a quick horizontal swing. The opponent dodges it, bending in time. He then concentrates the energy in his sword and strikes at the enemy, to the spy. But Tenjin dodges in time with a jump to the side. Soldier Ning cuts through the tent fabric, The general of the enemy army decides to find out whether the hero belongs to Feng Lai. The last one is confident, confirms it. Then the enemy, having evaluated the abilities of the guy and realizing that he is not an ordinary soldier, decides to find out his name. Tenjin introduces himself. The man notices that he has never heard this name. After that, the hero decides to find out the name. Your enemy. His name is Yongku. Tenjin responds with the same coin, stating that he has never heard of him. Yongku notices that he has slipped into his army, but now he can't escape. But if he does, if he surrenders now, then there is a chance that he will spare him. The hero declares that everything will be solved in the future, in combat, then adds to it by pointing the sword in the direction of the enemy and saying that there is a lot of excess from it. Noise level. A charge of energy passes through the man's hand, which he releases in the direction of the hero. The same is not. It moves from its place. Tenjin accepts the pressure not for himself, noting his strength. The other soldiers are Ning. They can't move from this pressure. Yongku doesn't wait for the guy to come to his senses and recover. He immediately attacks it. Tenjin manages to completely evade the attack. The enemy's spear stabs him in the side. He clutches at the wound, realizing that the case smells fried. The opponent says that the boy has chosen an enemy that is too tough for him. The hero isn't. I intend to just give up. He throws his sword at the opponent's face. Yongku says that this is a dirty trick, and then breaks the thing flying at him in mid-flight. The weapon is delivered in one precise and quick blow, but the guy is no longer there. On his arm, a tear went off, black fire, and he headed towards the crowd of Ning soldiers that surrounded them. With a few touches, Tenjin burns the carcasses of enemies, restoring his reserve of strength and healing the wound. His eyes change again, turning red with a black iris. The other enemies quickly realize that this is a dark art, noticing that his wounds are completely destroyed. They were healed. Yongku also lashes out at the hero, claiming that he will pay for this with his life. The enemy leader misses. His spear does not find its target, and Tenjin accelerates, killing even more of his soldiers and replenishing their energy reserves. This angers the man, so he lets go. Release your entire aura, covering yourself with a layer of energy. Tenjin feels the danger coming from the enemy. The same one shouts that it is the spear of the Soul Slayer. The next moment, energy arrows start raining down from the sky, killing the soldiers. Ning. The hero hides behind the carcass of one of them, calmly waiting for this attack. The shelling continues, but the guy doesn't waste any time. He analyzes the situation, noticing that the tent is on the hill directly in front of him. He notices that the guards at the tent are too calm. When their battle is going on nearby, Tenjin understands that there is someone important in the tent. He realizes that Yongku Reiki is beyond his imagination, so he is definitely not a match for him. Here it is. He notices a young man peeking out of the tent, wondering what happened. He also says that he has heard that the killer is in the camp, so it is not clear to him why he has not yet been informed. They brought his head. One of the soldiers, addressing the guy as His Highness, reports that General Yang is currently fighting with the enemy, so he is sure that he will defeat him soon, but he asks the guy to return to the tent. The prince laughs, saying that they have so many warriors on their side, and the enemy is just an ordinary small one, a thief, so he has nothing to fear. At the same time, beauties hang on the guy, and in his hands he holds a golden glass. He orders the guards to disperse so that he can watch it. One of the subordinates again. He says that it is very dangerous, because he has heard that the enemy practices a dark martial art, so he asks him to go back to the tent. This, on the contrary, causes enthusiasm in the prince, because to him, I want to take a look at this dark art. At the same time, the hero continues to reduce. Distance yourself from the prince, killing his soldiers along the way. Tenjin's aura is becoming increasingly sinister. Black fire now envelops all of his bodies, allowing you to move so fast that ordinary soldiers simply cannot oppose anything. General Yang orders the worthless bastards to capture him immediately, because this is a game of cats. It should come to an end. The man is enveloped in a pall of red energy, and he breaks into follow the guy at an incredible speed. Tenjin deals with Ning soldiers with his bare hands, simply ripping off their heads and easily breaking through their armor. Yongku appears behind him, raising his loaded spear. Red energy for impact. General Yang's attack overtakes the guy, which is why he draws a strip of several meters with his carcass. The prince's guard notices that General Yang has taken him down, so there's no need to be afraid. Prince. He claims that he knew he was a weakling and that General Yang was unique. The hero raises his own. A glance, realizing that he and his target were only a few measly meters away. Tenjin gets to his feet, and the prince notices that the enemy is still alive, so he orders, kill him immediately. A huge number of copies surround the guy, but he does not even think to give up. While dodging the attacks of ordinary warriors, the hero uses dark flames to kill them, restore them, and save them. Use your powers and heal your wounds. However, the people who protect the prince are not Bass Zone. 2. The spears still reach the hero, piercing his stomach. He coughs up blood, then looks up and looks into the prince's eyes, smiling. The latter is annoyed by this, so he screams that he will tear him to pieces. At this point, the hero's aura becomes even more sinister. When the other soldiers are about to stab it from all sides, it disappears, starting with a bullet. Move at breakneck speed. He finds himself standing next to the prince, who drops his phone in shock. Glass. General Yang realizes that he has contacted the assassin in the shadows. He orders to protect the prince, but already, it's late. Tenjin is behind the prince, ready to break his neck at any moment. He orders no one to move, otherwise he will burn the hostage to ashes. Yang steps forward, declaring that Tom should stop. The hero also notices that if he wants to protect his, then he must first do something for the master. The man orders to say that the guy needs it, and if something happens to his highness, he will kill him. On the hand of General Yang, golden energy passes through. This causes laughter to Tenjin, who says that life is his own. The master is in his hands, so he should be prepared to negotiate. The guy also urges not to use spiritual pressure on him, because this will not surprise him. He also ensures that his dark flame kills the master faster than he can do anything else. Do it, and if he doesn't believe it, then he is ready to check. General Yang asks the hero not to be stupid and say what he wants. First, the guy demands to release his people. Yang is informed that this is not a problem, specifying what other requirements there will be. The hero tells him to do his first task. Requirement. For clarity, he squeezes the prince's throat tightly. The man asks to stop, promising to fulfill his request. Tenjin mentally understands that the situation is worse than ever. After all, he is surrounded by strong enemies, and the presence of their leader and hostages does not guarantee him survival. Besides, no one can help him because his people are too far away from him right now. Yang orders the hostages to be brought here. After a few minutes, the hero's people come to him. Zhang Bao reports that the others are dead. Tenjin orders you to stand around him and don't touch him. Let Ning's men get closer. As soon as the subordinates carry out this order, the guy says its second requirement. He orders 30 horses to be equipped immediately and give his people the swords. General Yang doesn't understand why Tom needs so many horses. The hero isn't. He does not intend to say so, but simply orders them to comply with this requirement, otherwise he will kill them. The master, the prince, asks not to be killed, and then orders Yang to do whatever he says. The man gives the order to equip the horses. When all Feng soldiers receive horses, the hero demands that the enemy soldiers let them pass. General Yang asks that he dismissed his highness. The guy also says that he will do it when he leaves and is in the hospital. And if he doesn't believe him, then there's nothing he can do about it, because his death, equivalent to the prince's death. The latter asks Yang to just give as he says. If something happens to him, he should go to his brother and tell him about it. Man orders the gate to be opened. The hero, along with his people, sends forward on horseback. He is being chased by General Yang So. With your own people, the hero demands that he order that no one dares to pursue them. The man tells the interlocutor to release his majesty first. The guy explains that he will only do this after they arrive in Tongmen, and before that, the prince will be with him. Yang is the same. He says that if he does, he won't let him leave. Tenjin informs his brothers that they are heading to the Ning checkpoint. Zhang Bao a little surprised by this decision, so he asks if they're not going back to Tongmen and where they will go. The hero explains that they will go to Wu Yume, because they cannot do without their help, because there are too few of them, and he thinks they won't make it to Tongmen. Zhang Bao, he notices that General Wu should have reached the checkpoint by now. General Yang also pursues the hero's squad with several subordinates. He commands them, speed up, because they must save his highness in any way possible. At the same time, someone destroys a soldier's armor in one hit. Tenjin orders his subordinates to stop, because there is a battle ahead. The Feng soldiers are looking at. They are at a loss. Zhang Bao doesn't understand why they look at them like that. Here the hero hears his own name and turns around in the direction of the voice. Wu Mei is walking towards him. He notices that two sisters, at their spiritual level of control, can combine a shield. Spiritual weapons combined. But to reach this level, you need at least an aura no weaker than Wu Mei's. After that, he pays attention to her sister, Wu Yong, realizing that she doesn't care at all. No weaker than my sister. Tenjin admits that they are very strong, and that the two sisters are not just like that. You've earned yourself such a reputation. Tenjin thinks that his brother can't be on the battlefield right now because he doesn't know what to do. He is proficient in martial arts. Then he hears the voice of Eugene, who is happy that the guy, alive, Soldier Ning, finally catches up with the hero's squad. He notices that these are the only survivors of the Feng, then realizes that it was stupid not to understand right away. He is preparing to fight back against his own An enemy. Tenjin grins at this. At the same time, the prince comes to his senses. The hero grabs him by the throat, demanding that he give the order. Let your men fall back. The rich man asks to be spared. The enemy soldier calls the guy trash, then orders to surround the Feng squad. General Yang intervenes. He orders us to stop. The two Feng soldiers that were fighting in this area, they are surprised at the appearance of such a significant person here. One of them reports Jan, who said that there are martial artists among the enemies and they have heavy losses, but they managed to surround your enemies. General Yang orders them to be released. General Wu decides to find out who Tenjin captured. She puts a gun to the prince's head, ordering you to speak. His name is Yu Sheng, and he is the third son of King Ning. It's not much, surprises the girl. The rich man notices a guy who says that since she already knows who he is, then she should better let him go. A representative of the fair sex laughs at this, mentally noting that the other person does not understand what position they are in. General Wu praises the hero, saying that she wasn't wrong about him and that he served her well this time. Once, after that, the girl turns to the enemy leader, asking if it is General Yang Ku. He gives a positive answer, asking with whom he has the honor to speak. It is presented after, whereupon the man declares that if she frees His Majesty, he will use his powers, make connections to help them avoid the consequences and leave safely. Representative. The fairer sex grins at this. Seeing this, Yang Ku clarifies that she doesn't believe him. The latter claims that now it is not available to anyone. He confides in her, then tells her that he will return to Tongmen with his men first, and only then. After that, she will release His Highness. General Yang asks if they have the ability to something to negotiate. The hero presses on the neck of the prince, who asks his subordinate agree because it hurts him. This makes the man give up, saying that while His Highness unharmed, they won't take any action. Upon hearing this, General Wu informs them that they are leaving General Yang. She commands to move out. Soldier Ning doesn't believe that they will just let them go. General Yang also notes that they are nothing. They can't help it, because they have His Highness as a hostage. The problem is that the probability that if you try to save the prince, he will die, and no one will want to be responsible for this responsibility. The man decides that it is impossible to hide the fact that one of the three princes was captured, so he orders to report it to the second prince. The prince cries, realizing that he was in a very unenviable position. The girl notes that this is the second trap that Tenjin has successfully circumvented. The latter declares that this is all thanks to General Wu's guidance, thoughtful planning, and great strategy. However, he hoped that next time the girl wouldn't dump so much on his head. Eugene, like any reasonable person, is aware that his brother has said a little too much, so he immediately asks if he is injured. The hero claims that he has only a small abrasion. General Wu tosses him a small container of liquid. The guy catches it, asking what it is. She also explains that this is a painkiller. Tenjin thanks her for this. General Wu hurries to ask him not to think about drinking it, because this medicine is applied to the wound. The hero takes these words into account. A second nurse appears from behind and clarifies how to. The guy managed to catch Yu Sheng. The prince says he used magic. This is surprising. Both girls ask again what the word magic means. The prisoner says that in that time, the guy was standing in front of him, and he didn't understand how the guy used magic, but after a moment, he did. I was right behind him, because otherwise he wouldn't have been able to grab him. Tenjin responds to the prince, a slap on the back of the head, saying that he doesn't need to open his mouth, because there's no need for anything. Explain. General Wu decides to find out what they will do with the prisoner, kill him or let him go. Eugene interrupts the conversation, stating that they can't leave him, so he suggests sending him to Tongmen after he kills him. He understands that although Feng has suffered a huge loss, and they being able to take one of the three princes of Ning, it can't be considered compensation. Hostage C. He is surprised to realize that they are going to kill him. Looking down on the enemy's camp from a hill, the scientist says there are at least 4 armies there. This, more than 400,000 people. The interviewee notices that even if this is not the case, they will soon be able to find out more. It will be exactly that much. Eugene doesn't know how to get through when there are so many enemies out there. Tenjin claims that they will pass between them using their majesty's importance to them. The hero offers to go further. General Wu doesn't understand where the guy is going. He informs them that they will be on their way to Tongmen. The interviewee asks him to wait for her. I could think through everything. Tenjin also notes that if they stay, they will find themselves in even greater dangers. The guy says that they should continue to move, because they become vulnerable when they stop, so you should skip very quickly. The second sister understands that even if they will kill Yu Sheng and stay put, this is the end for them, so she approves of the guy's plan, wanting to take advantage of the opportunity. After hearing the approval of a loved one, General Wu orders to raise the flag and start moving forward only. They are approaching a large gate at a large border post. Horses and ordinary people. The soldiers clearly cannot overcome such an obstacle in their path. The gate opens, and out of it, a man of aristocratic appearance appears, who immediately clarifies who their leader is. The hero asks a counter question about who he is. He introduces himself. His name is Yujia. General Wu reports that this is His Highness, the second prince. She's a little surprised that they will be held by the prince's personal order. He just wants to know where his brother is. In that, the moment a hostage shows his voice, asking his brother to save him, Yujia demands that the hero release his brother. General Wu doesn't understand why he's angry. After all, they only want to go to Tongmen, and then they will let His Highness go. The second prince sets its own conditions. He wants his brother released first, and then he'll let them go. Pass is its only condition. General Wu stands his ground, unwilling to give in. Yujia understands that they will not come to an agreement. The hero intervenes in the conversation, noting that they are not. They talk about his conditions, but his brother's life is in his hands. The second prince declares that if even one hair falls from the hostage's head, he will kill the guy. Tenjin pulls off the third prince's ear with a confident movement, saying that this is just the beginning. The prisoner screams as if he is being slaughtered like a pig. All Ning soldiers point their weapons at the hero. Even the second prince is getting ready to bear your sword. General Wu doesn't understand what this guy is trying to achieve. The hero is looming over us, the body of the hostage, clarifying who dared to move. Such an action causes Yujia to recover from his anger. He asks not to touch his brother, but the hero notices that this request will be granted if only he passes them. The second prince agrees to this if the interlocutors promise not to hurt their brother again and let him go. General Wu says she has already promised that once they reach Tongmen, she will give him to leave. Hearing this, Yujia orders the soldiers to disperse to let the enemies pass. Subordinates doubt this. Then the aristocrat reminds that he is higher in status from why everyone has to accept this truth. Feng's squad is allowed to pass through the checkpoint. On the way, General Wu decides to find out why Tenjin was like this. I'm sure Yujia will give up. The guy explains that it's just human nature. He draws an analogy with the fact that if Wu Ying was in captivity, the interlocutor would have done the same. Hearing this, the leader rushes to find out where the hero's family is now. The guy points to the sky with his finger, and the girl understands that his family is in the sky. The hero is the same, notices it so that it's better not to appear there. General Wu decides to find out what the guy was doing before joining the army. Tenjin gives a simple answer: killed. It's a little unsettling. So the guy explains that this means that he is a murderer. She looks him up and down carefully. Feeling the scrutinizing gaze on him, Tenjin clarifies that he doesn't look like the killer. The girl admits that she can't believe it, because he doesn't seem to. So, she asks if he's a killer. How many lives did he take? The guy replies that, countless of them. At this point, the group is approaching the city, the gate to which they're closing it. The second prince orders them to stop, because they promise to let him go. My brother when they get to Tongmen. The hero also says that it is too early for this. Yujia rushes to find out what Tenjin is up to, but the latter does not have time to answer Tom, because an arrow is driven into the ground in front of his horse. The archers on the walls say not to come so close. The girl presents, demanding an audience with the local general. A man in a different combat uniform looks out from the wall. The rest of them. General Wu recognizes him as General Zhencheng, whom she interviewed recently. She asks if he recognizes her. When she doesn't get an answer, she asks again if they want to let her and them in. Man notifies that the city gates are already closed, so the only way to get inside is by climbing up ropes that throw the squad off the walls. The Feng soldiers begin to climb up, and the girl decides to find out what the hero is waiting for. Tenjin rushes to find out what they will do with the hostage. General Wu states that there is no point about. Don't worry. She informs one of the soldiers that he can pick it up when they enter the building. City. The hero specifies whether the interlocutor wants to kill him. The girl notices that the guy will not give. The third prince should leave. Tenjin also says that, in his opinion, people should keep their word. The girl does not believe her ears, because Tenjin wants to entrust them to the enemies. This sounds like crazy. She puts her hand on his shoulder, insisting that they won't argue about this, so he needs to follow her. The guy also asks the girl to climb first, and he will stay. A representative of the fair sex does not understand what he wants to do. The hero also notices that if she didn't keep her word, then he couldn't do that. General Wu stresses that Yu Sheng is the Prince of Ning, and that he is their enemy, so they can't let him go. Eugene intervenes in the conversation, saying that the murder of the third Prince Nai, it will not affect anything, and they will only make more evil Nings for themselves, which is not very good for them. Realizing that this is a very good argument, to which she has nothing to answer, the girl reports that This is the last time she follows his advice. The scientist also asks that the brother not join the marriage. Conflict with General Wu over Yu Sheng. The hero thanks his friend for his help, and then he orders us to climb. A small argument begins between Eugene and Tenjin because the former does not want to leave his brother. 1. The hero declares that if he dies, then he is not to blame. At this point to them, a cavalry detachment is approaching. The second prince asks when they will finally let his brother go. The hero, noticing that almost everything, his men are already in, and he throws the hostage at the other man's feet. The second prince is angry at this treatment of his loved one. He takes off 2 guys with their squad. The hero also asks Eugene to hurry up and climb the wall. General Wu commands the archers to shoot in such a way as to protect General Tang. Several arrows hit the second prince's escort, but the latter dodges them. After that, a golden armor of energy appears on it. The third prince intervenes. He asks not to catch up with Tenjin. This surprises my brother a little, which tries the reason for such a request. Then the former hostage explains that let Tenjin in, hurt him, but he saved him. This confuses him. Intervenes in the conversation. General Yang, who reveals that Wu Mei wanted to kill him, but Tenjin stopped her to save his life. At this moment, the hero had almost reached the walls. While Eugene was climbing up on the ledge itself, the boy, he looked at the Ning people. The second prince stated that the next time they met, one of them would be definitely going to die. General Wu points out that the guy trusts his enemies, but they don't trust him, so he shouldn't do it anymore. Doing something so stupid. The hero notices that he simply does not want his conscience to torment him, and the actions of others are their concern. After that, the girl introduces the guy to the man who let them in. In the city, Eugene says that his brother should be thanked. The girl remembers all of it. He deserved it, knowing that he had behaved very bravely. He caught Yu Sheng, saved her, and saved all of them. She ponders whether there is a suitable reward for him. While she's thinking, the man introduces himself. He is the head of the Guangzhou clan. It states that defending Tongmen and capturing an enemy prince among numerous enemies shows that the guy is a real hero. Tenjin says that he was just very lucky. Interlocutor takes it for modesty. After that, the man turns to General Wu, asking him to enter the hall for a vacation. After all, she made a very grueling journey. The girl also asks that too. Tired soldiers were also treated accordingly. A representative of the fair sex asks Tenjin to go after her, after which she appeals to General Guangzhou, wanting to learn more about Tongmen. She specifies how many soldiers are there. The man says less than 20,000. Because of the Ning, many men from Tongmen were defeated or missing, so the city is in big trouble. They changes the subject, deciding to find out what the other person knows about General Ziyang. The same one tells that Ziyang has returned to Yangcheng with a defeat, which greatly angered the king, because of which the general's life hangs in the balance. This would not only have a bad effect on his entire family in the future, but also not on the Wu family. The girl is the same. She says her family won't be involved. General Wu clarifies whether 10,000 Tongmen soldiers will be able to provide protection, because Ningyi, they are outnumbered, so they can't guarantee victory. For this reason, the girl asks if there will be reinforcements from Yangcheng. The man declares that the king has already sent a corps of soldiers. Me wondered who was leading them. Their leader is Wang Kai. This is the name. Surprises the fair sex. General Wu notes that if you move quickly, the journey from Yangcheng to Tongmen will take 5 days. Therefore, it can be said that Yangcheng's troops will arrive soon. General Guangzhou states that Liang Kai, it took him 7 days to move, and that he had sent men several times to hurry him, but that he had not been able to do so. Makes excuses and avoids it. It's obvious to the man that the Liang family doesn't want to join the war to save your soldiers. The girl understands that without the support of soldiers, Tongmen will definitely fall. Evening comes. The hero was given a separate room. He hears a knock on the door, and then allows you to log in. Eugene and a middle-aged man enter the room. The scientist explains that General Zhang Zheng sent this doctor to see his brother. Tenjin also notices that he has only minor injuries. Eugene puts the emphasis on the fact that they don't know when the Ning soldiers will surround them, so to his brother, you should heal your body as soon as possible. The doctor also notes that if minor injuries occur, if injuries are not treated in time, they may soon lead to death. Wise, the person also says that it is better not to act recklessly, because if the wounds worsen, even if they are injured, the general doctor will not be able to cure him. After this, Tenjin simply can't refuse from treatment. When it's all over, he thanks the doctor for his help. Eugene asks for his brother. Listen to what the doctor said about his injuries. Realizing that you need to take care of your health, the hero gives a positive answer. Eugene is the same. Decides to get down to business when the doctor leaves them. It tells that the relationship between General Zhang Zheng and the Wu family aren't exactly natural, so he's afraid that General Zhang Zheng won't go to Yangcheng and General Wu might risk his life to help him. Tenjin becomes curious about what happened to Yongcheng and Liang Kai in the past. The scientist is the same, notices that this is a long story. Feng has 4 houses: Izayang's house, Liang's house, Wu's house, and Zhang's house. These 4 houses manage more than half of Feng's strength. The eldest son of the Izayang family, Yang Haochun, is the most important. General Feng has a noble rank and controls 15 battalions of soldiers. This, more than 150,000 people. Yang Zhenkun is the head of the Liang family, which is located in the east. Besides, he's also a noble. Yang Zhenkun controls 10 battalions of soldiers. Wu Yuguan is the head of the Wu family, which is located in the west. He has a noble title and controls 8 battalions of soldiers, including the 2nd and 3rd legions. Zhang Tian the head. The Chun Tian family, the best Feng commander, has a noble rank and controls 6 battalions of soldiers, which means that the 4 families control almost 400,000 soldiers. In addition, the royal family controls 200,000. Each of the local forces has 200,000. That is the total number of Feng forces. In this war with the Ning, the royal family was directly involved with 6. By the battalions, the Ziyang family sent 10 and the Wu family laid out. But no one expected Ning. They will be ready before them and will have 400,000 soldiers on the Eastern River. Feng army. It was suddenly surrounded from the north by the Eastern River. Along the Eastern River, both sides entered into a war. A decisive battle in the mountain plains, with 400,000 Ningxia soldiers. Feng was defeated. This happened before Tenjin and Eugene met. The hero realizes that this means that the Ning will come here after they win. Eugene notices that the Ning army is well prepared, because in just 2 days it destroyed 200,000 men of their strongest army and took control of Tongami. He's afraid of what's next. Yancheng will fall. The scholar even dares to say that there is a spy from Ning among them, who is bothering them. Reports everything to the enemy. Tenjin asks if his brother is sure of these words. The latter explains that it takes several steps, months to gather 400,000 soldiers and provide for all the needs of the army, so Ning. They were ready and waiting for an attack, which looks very suspicious. Hero notices that this is not something they should care about right now, because at the moment there is only one problem, one thing that is urgent. Eugene asks with interest what his brother means by that. Phew, Tenjin claims that this is a dream. He asks the scientist to leave the room and not disturb him. The hero wakes up in the morning. He doesn't know where his clothes are. In his room it turns out. Girl, she turns out to be Zio Yu's maid in this building. General Zheng Yizeng has already ordered new clothes and breakfast to make it ready. Tenjin asks the maid to leave her clothes and leave his room. The girl says that she couldn't leave because she'd been told to help him change. The guy is already more aggressive. He demands that she leave the room because he wants to change himself. The maid stops me on the way out of the room, not understanding what I did wrong because I upset the general with something. The hero explains that he just isn't used to it. After that, Zio Yu is removed. The guy starts to eat when General Wu's voice interrupts him, suggesting that he go to the next meal. Other important things. She puts her hand on his shoulder, insisting that they won't stay in Tongmen for a long time. The girl wants them to go out to the square on the day Yongcheng arrives. The hero declares that he is not interested in this. May also notes that she did not ask for his opinion. The brunette clarifies what she wants. A representative of the fair sex replies that she has come just to say hello. Tenjin mockingly notices that the girl does not show proper respect for her leader. These words make me angry. She draws her sword, holding the blade to her throat. The other person. The hero says that he thinks Miss Wu has no shortage of soldiers. The girl doesn't. Understands what the guy is driving at. The dark-haired man grabs the girl's sword with his chopsticks, saying only one word, friend. This a little surprises the girl, so she rushes to clarify in order to accurately understand the intentions of the guy. If he wants to be her friend. In her mind's eye, Mi is glad that the other person said he wanted to be her friend. At this moment, Tenjin says he can let her be his friend. This makes the girl laugh, so she decides. Find out if the guy knows who she is. The brunette reveals that she is the eldest daughter of the Wu family, one of nobles, and is responsible for the 2nd and 3rd platoons. Guys, let's get 800 likes and I will release a new part. The hero admits that at the moment he has few friends, but he is proud of what they have. He has it, and when one of them faces difficulties, he will always help them and they will do it. Do your best to help him. This kind of relationship is exactly what he can accept. Therefore, he will sincerely help her. He's not someone who can afford to satisfy the desires of others. He wasn't used to listening to someone's orders, especially if it was someone else's. An arrogant person who criticizes everyone and rules unfairly. Mi decides to find out if Eugene is his friend. Tenjin gives a positive answer. The interviewee notices that earlier, when she sent him to the Ning checkpoint as bait, he asked, "Leave it." The hero explains that it was for his protection. The girl claims that she is going to be his friend, but she wants him to promise her something. She wants to occupy his heart, a lot more space than Eugene. The guy looks at the interlocutor with an unreadable look. He clearly doesn't like this attitude. General Wu smiles back. The hero never gives her an answer. After some time between, the two guys start a conversation. The scientist rushes to find out what his brother wants to find in the armory. The store. Tenjin explains that he wants to order a special weapon for himself. It offers the other person should go with him if he is free. Eugene asks what kind of weapon we're talking about, and does it exist in the army? The hero explains that there are no similar weapons that he wants in the game. The army, so he needs to order it. The brothers set out on their journey. Walking through the streets of the city, Eugene asks if his brother has any money. For this, it turns out that the guy was given money by General Wu. The scientist praises the hero for the fact that he can even receive money from the ladies of the Wu family. The same one orders him to be silent. They pass one of the buildings, which Eugene recognizes as a blacksmith shop. Hero comes forward, asking if there is a manager there. A gray-haired man answers his question, smoking a cigarette. His one eye is covered with a blindfold, and one leg and one arm are mechanical. He asks if Sir wants to order a gun. Chapter 1-28. Tenjin throws a bag of money at the blacksmith. The same one, not seeing the object flying at it, catches it. The hero bends over it, showing images of the blade. He is willing to pay all his money, so that the blacksmith can do the job. The old man grins, saying that this weapon looks very unusual, so you will need some time at the ready. Estimating the weight of the bag, he notes that it is quite large, the amount he can live on for the rest of his life, so he will personally let you know when it will finish its work. There's a rumble nearby. Something slammed into the protective wall. Tenjin orders his brother to go for cover because the Ning army has begun a siege, and he is going to go check the situation. The Feng soldiers on the walls are suffering greatly from the catapult barrage. The Ning army has come close to the walls of the city. On the surface, it is not just preparing for a siege, but launching a full-scale assault. At the same time, one of the soldiers on the walls informs the others that the enemy has begun a siege, so he calls on archers to prepare their arrows and be ready to dodge the enemy's arrows. The text. At this point, one of the boulders hits the speaker, turning him into a bloodstain. General Guangzhou urges everyone to listen to his orders. He gives the order that the archers, they took their seats. As soon as this happens, he gives the command to start firing. Several hundred arrows are sent out towards the attackers. Some of the catapults got too close, so the Ning soldiers that charge them suffer from the arrows of the defenders of the city. The archers hide, taking a short break. One of the soldiers notices that the number of enemy troops outnumber them, and the enemy is already under the city walls. Indeed, the Ning soldiers are breaking through to the city walls. They've already put up the walls and are climbing the stairs. Nim, intending to break through another bulwark of defense, defenders of the city fiercely. They resist by throwing stones and boulders at the attackers, thereby trying to slow down their rise. The man leading the Ning soldier commands to release arrows. Several dozen arrows. They overtake the defenders of the walls. Seeing this, General Guangzhou urges his subordinates to put on their armor. Pay close attention to enemy arrows. Tenjin runs up to one of the soldiers, wanting to borrow his sword for a while. General Wu, noticing that the guy came here without armor, encourages him to go quickly to the shelter. The hero declares that he is not going to sit on the sidelines because the city was attacked. Mei thinks he's gone mad. She doesn't understand what he's going to do since he's not wearing any armor, and he still hadn't recovered from his injuries. Eugene, however, says that the only way to heal his brother's wounds is to go to the hospital. Battle. The scientist explains that the brother is a master of the dark flame, so the battle is stimulating. His cells will regenerate, so he will heal his wounds. The girl notes that even if this is so, how can he go to such a dangerous place right now? Eugene also claims that Tenjin simply has no one to stop, and a representative of the fair sex declares that it will help him. The hero at this time climbed the wall, where the battle is already in full swing with the soldiers of Ning, who almost managed to break through. Using dark fire, he burns a couple of them, healing their wounds. After that, he turns to face the rest of the enemies, noticing that the battlefield is the best a place for him. The hero breaks forward. On the battlefield, he is free. He can do whatever he likes. Anything. This place is not for good people. Success feels different here. Dealing with enemies. The guy understands that only here he can be so fast, get unlimited power, because he is someone who lives only for and for himself. After using dark fire on the body, the hero decides to try to transfer its power to the sword. His two soldiers attack at once, but with one blow, he cuts their weapons, after which he lengthens them. Blade your own blade with the dark flame. Continuation of the weapon wags from side to side, obeying the will of the owner. Standing on the mountain of enemy corpses, Tenjin takes a deep breath, absorbing more and more Energy consumption. The Ning soldiers begin to fear him, calling him a monster. In the next instant, the inevitable happens. The sword in the hero's hands simply turns into an oski, unable to withstand the release of spiritual pressure. Noticing the fallen soldier's weapon nearby, the hero throws it up with a deft movement of his foot. Then he catches it by the handle. The guy notices that now he just has a monstrous volume. Spiritual power. He decides to try something. New weapons are covered with a thick layer. A dark flame. Tenjin aims his sword at the enemies, then swings his weapon. Ning soldiers see that a wave of spiritual energy is flying at them, but they can't do anything because of their bodies, shackled from the pressure of spiritual power. At the last moment, a dark wave of energy stops the white flash, saving the soldiers. The hero's attack was stopped by a guy with white hair and bright armor. He orders his allies to withdraw and leave the dark martial artist behind. Thank you to him. The opponent's face has a helmet that hides the upper part of it. He recognizes the K-hero as a master, Dark Flame, then realizes that he has encountered the same person who wounded the third prince. He takes off, bringing the spear behind his back with the desire to blow off Tenjin's head. The brunette jumps out of the way in time, avoiding the enemy's attack. After that, he will counterattack, taking advantage of the white-haired man's opening. The hero's blade sweeps a couple of centimeters from his face. The enemy, after which the latter goes on the attack. Tenjin parries this attack with his sword covered in dark flames. The white-haired master focuses on the onslaught of the opponent, for which the next moment is paid. Hero. She gives him a kick to the face, forcing him to step back. Soldier Ning slows down his slide with the tip of his spear, then focuses his energy on its tip, extending the weapon towards the sky. The gravitational force lifts cobblestones into the sky. Tenjin, after which the opponent clenches his fist. All objects that are lifted into the air start to move, gather in one ball. The hero, using his power, breaks out of this gravitational barrier. Fields. Once behind the enemy's back, he puts his hand on the shoulder, covered with a dark flame. Tenjin gets a bad feeling. Soldier Ning also clenches his teeth, then turns around, stabs a guy with a spear. The tip of his weapon plunges into the hero's flesh, sending him flying. A flight of 10 meters. The hero coughs up blood, trying to recover. The enemy appears in front of him, declaring that he wants to use his dark fire, but he can't, so today will be his day. Death. Tenjin wants to know the name of the person who wants to kill him. The same one leans over the guy, saying that his name is Wu Kui, and he is a general of the Ning army, so he should remember well who he is. After that, the white-haired man raises his spear, intending to kill the enemy, but he is in the middle of a fight. An arrow strikes my shoulder. Wu Kui pulls the arrows out of his armor, then turns around and asks who fired them. An arrow in his back. It turns out that Eugene, along with 2 soldiers, came to the rescue of his brother. The scholar asks if Brother Tang is okay. The hero decides to take this chance and heal with the help of a dark aura. General, however, Ning tightens his grip on his spear, then asks who dared meddle in his affairs, and whether they even need their lives. At this point, his armor, it is being restored. The 2 guys who came with Eugene notice that their enemy doesn't know what to do. He looks normal, and besides, he fought with Brother Tan. The swordsman breaks into battle. He confidently closes the distance, and then strikes a vertical blow. Strike with your weapon. Wu Kui blocks this attack with his spear. Onslaught of the Ning army general. It is difficult to withstand, so the swordsman has to retreat, but the white-haired man does not intend to kill him. Release it. He is about to finish off the guy, but an arrow again arrives in his armor, forcing him to stop now. This angers Wu Kui, because the archer again intervenes in his battle. The Ning soldiers, noticing that Tenjin is not moving, think that he is very weak, so this is why. The perfect opportunity to kill him. The hero plays along with them, hiding his face with his hands. One of the enemies believes that the Dark Flame Master is simply afraid to look death in the eye, so he attacks him. Tenjin also opens his eyes at the last moment, after which the first strikes. The hero kills a small group of enemy soldiers, after which his dark flame consumes him from the ground, from head to toe. He starts laughing like a madman, holding his head. Wu Kui notices that the aura behind him has changed. He is surprised to realize that Tenjin is for such a short period of time was able to heal his wounds. Army General Ning directs, use your weapon towards the hero, stating that he is his opponent, so he will let him have a taste. Your power. The archer and swordsman notice that this person's strength is unusual. Wu Kui puts the spiritual spear forward, aiming it at the guy and concentrating the energy on his body. The tips. In the next instant, a stream of yellow energy shoots out in his direction. Tenjin. He looks over his shoulder at it, grinning. Army General Ning felt that the enemy had decided to end this battle so ridiculously. However, after a moment, his face changed. The carcass of one of his dogs was flying at him. Subordinates who asked him to save them. The man cut the fool into 2 pieces without hesitation. But from behind Soldier Ning's troop, a hero wrapped in dark flames immediately appeared. Tenjin deals a direct blow to the opponent's torso, releasing a small cloud of dark smoke from his fist. The flame, Wu Kui slows down the momentum after hitting, then calls the enemy to stop. Use dark fire because it's useless. At this moment, a swordsman attacks him from behind. The man jumps out of the way, dodging a sword strike. An archer's arrow hits Kui in the back, and he notices that he shouldn't be ignored, but Tenjin then appears behind the general of the Ning army, delivering a powerful blow to the place where she was. Armor destroyed. The hero's attack does not penetrate the enemy's defense. This surprises him a little, which makes him break up. Distance yourself by getting close to the swordsman. Army General Ning doesn't understand how such a fool can be. Like him, maybe trying to kill him altogether. It encourages you to try to do this via 10 years of training while swinging your spear and releasing a wave of energy at your enemies. The hero jumps, avoiding the attack, and the swordsman crouches in time. Tenjin decides what is needed. Attack from both sides, so he encourages an ally to attack from the front while he is on his own. Attack from behind. The swordsman takes note of this as he charges forward. Wu Kui also mentally. He notices that the black fire cannot harm him, so Tenjin is not dangerous to him. For this, I think he's going to kill the guy with the sword first. Tenjin quickly analyzes the situation. His enemy's spiritual energy is great, and his defense, it recovers too quickly. The guy with the sword may look strong, but he can be defeated very easily. The hero's dark flame cannot penetrate the enemy's defenses. At the same time, the sword guy's attack is met with another Ning army general's block, which is easy, overpowers his onslaught, making a retaliatory attack and injuring the guy. The hero pays attention to the second ally. He notices that the archer's aura is insignificant, but he is strong because his arrows can break through the enemy's defenses, which is exactly what he is going for. Use it. One of the arrows just goes to the back of Kui, who is engaged in a fight with. He is a swordsman, so Tenjin plans to strike with dark flame immediately after he is killed. The guy's arrow will break through his defense. However, at the last moment, the hero changes his plan. He puts his hand right in front of his head, move the enemy's arrow so that the ally's arrow passes through it. With this action, he manages to get rid of the general Ning army spiritual protection. The arrow plunges into the back of the man's head and exits through his mouth. Wu Kui's spear falls to the ground, and the great warrior himself falls to his knees. The hero also begins to absorb the power of a true general with its dark flames. The other soldiers of the Ning army realize with horror that the enemy has defeated their leader. Eugene notices that his brother was able to gain a spiritual shield. The hero's allies are also straining because the aura coming from Tenjin terrifies them. The latter picks up the fallen man's spear from the ground. The hero is enveloped in a veil of dark fire, and the spear is transformed into a scythe. The swordsman does not understand how this is possible, and then it comes to him because their leader is a master. A dark flame. Eugene asks not to jump to conclusions, because Army General Ning is already dead. In his mind, he understands that Brother Tang has absorbed Wu Kui's energy and his current spiritual energy. It was just huge. The archer notices that a terrifying aura is emanating from the Tenjin scientist. He also realizes that right now the spiritual energy is being amplified in the guy's body, and if his willpower is not strong enough, he will not be able to do it. If he does, he'll lose control. At this point, the hero releases a huge amount of energy with a wave of the scythe. The guy kills everyone. Soldier Ning, who is able to climb the walls, then throws the ladders away. One of the attackers report the death of General Wu Kui. The rest of the people are in fear, calling the guy a real monster. The allies are also hurt by Tenjin's rage. When it's all over, Eugene gets up from the ground. He sees his brother among the corpses of his enemies. It no longer has the cover of dark flame on it, so he asks if he's all right. The hero doesn't have the strength to respond. His eyes close, and he says, "It starts to fall." Before losing consciousness, Tenjin sees his friend running towards him. The hero opened his eyes in a safe place. He was woken up by me, who went straight to the bathroom. Questions about his state of health. It was obvious that she was worried about him. The guy admitted that he feels pretty good on the whole, but he's used up all his spiritual energy, so he can't help it. It will take some time to recover, and then he decides to find out what the current situation is. The moment has developed. Eugene reveals that the Ning army has temporarily retreated, and General Wu arrived in time to save them. He notices that General Zhongsheng can no longer defend Tongmen, so despite these conditions, he can go with them, because he does not need to force himself in such a situation. The man declares that in this case he will have to wait until the king punishes him for not doing his job, because he was the one who left the protection from the very beginning. Ting Meng left him because he trusted him, so he must live up to the king's trust. The words move the girl. And General Zhang Zheng claims that every 100 years in the ranks of the Feng army, in total, there is a general who dies in battle. He says that the enemies are already close, so he will die with. With Tongmin's soldiers, he wouldn't be able to insult his country. Everyone bows their heads, respecting the brave general's decision. The latter also notes that he only has one request for General Wu. He hopes that it will deliver to his family. Message when he returns to Yancheng. Night falls. General Wu's squad is sent to the capital. The hero decides to get acquainted with an archer and a swordsman. The first is called Le Tian, and the second is called Gu Yu. He notices that he knows that they are not comfortable right now, but they should not think that it is noble to fight without fear of death. Tenjin emphasizes that there are many people in this world who fight without fear of death. However, to die without meaning is stupid. The martial artist says that death is as heavy as a huge mountain, but during the battle, it is difficult to survive. The deaths of people feel an unprecedented ease, but if they decide to, then it won't stop. He notices that there is a place near Tongmen, so they can go there. The swordsman thanks the leader for this opportunity, realizing that he has managed to convince 2 of his allies. He invites them to follow him. The swordsman, he says that even though they are grateful to him, he should not think that he will continue to work with it. Tenjin says that if they find a better place, he doesn't mind if they leave. These words make the swordsman angry. Then Eugene intervenes in the conversation, which emphasizes that in this situation, it is better for them to unite. After that, the scientist passes the 2 guys a bottle with a medicine that can stop the bleeding and pain. He says it's from his brother, adding that this medicine is specially from General Wu for them because Brother Tang is worried about him. The guy notices that Tenjin is the one he wants to follow. The archer is mentally understands that he has a dark spirit. On the battlefield, it looked scary and even scared him, but now he is attentive to others. Some time passes. The detachment continues to move to Yancheng. Eugene decides to find out what Brother Tang plans to do something when they get to the city. The same one declares that he doesn't want anything, so he'll get some sleep first. In her mind's eye, Mi realizes that it's been 3 days since they left Tongmen, so she doesn't know how things are with General Zhang Zheng now. At this point, one of the riders stops in front of her, starting to report. As expected, the Ning army started laying siege to the city again. This time, Ning army attacked in. With full force, General Zhang Zheng was forced to retreat. The enemy army occupied Tongmen territory. But at that moment, 100,000 Feng soldiers suddenly appeared at the head of General Lion. They killed hundreds of thousands of soldiers from the Ning army, and now went to Tongmen City. Mei admits that bastard Liang Kai is really good. After all, he deliberately delayed to force 20,000 defenders to deal damage to the enemy, which is why most of them died, then appeared to defeat the weakened enemy. Eugene notices that there are 100,000 soldiers, but Ning suffered more casualties because they behaved too much. Reckless, General Wu decides to continue on to Yancheng. The girl decides to find out if Tenjin's wounds have healed during this time. The hero reports that he completely healthy. Mi notices that even the king has granted him the title of Noble Viscount for killing the general of the Ning army and capturing the 3rd prince is really unusual. The guy notices that most likely General Wu came up to him in order to say this. The interlocutor notices that now he is the commander of the 2nd Corps, so he will have to reform the Corps, so it specifies whether it is interested in choosing subordinates. After receiving a positive response from Tenjin, the girl asks if he needs advice. Hero says he just needs to take a look first. Mei reveals that there will be a banquet for the Wu family tonight, and her father would like to see it. Tenjin notices that he is not interested in the banquet, but he will take a look. The girl says that her father is friendly, so he shouldn't be nervous. The guy claims that he is not at all. He's nervous. This amuses the interlocutor. A trio of guys are coming from behind. The swordsman decides to find out if there is anything between General Wu and General Tan. Eugene tells him not to think about anything strange, because General Wu just appreciates Brother Tan. The swordsman also notices that their leader uses the power of the dark spirit. The scientist does not understand what is wrong with the dark spirit, and then declares that General Wu appreciates his brother Tana as a person. The other person thinks about this, and then the archer asks Gu Yu not to worry about it because it doesn't concern him. The latter, on the contrary, believes that this concerns him because he will work with the general. Tanum, the friend, notices that he accepted this as a fact. Eugene insists that Brother Tang is not. It will disappoint them. The squad passes through the gate, then goes on foot, going to the tent. There are several dozen armored soldiers who greet General Wu with respect. With a bow, the girl points out that they don't have to do this, and then she turns to the hero, informing him that these are candidates from newly recruited soldiers, from which he can choose. Add people to your squad. Tenjin is presented as the commander of the 2nd Infantry Corps, after which announces that he will select several of them today. The recruits did not recognize the hero because the fame of his achievements has not yet spread around the district. One of the soldiers remarked that he had never heard his name before. Another stated that it looks like too young to be a corps commander. After hearing all this gossip, expressing distrustful of himself, Tenjin decides to clear up the situation by asking everyone if there is anyone who reached the spiritual Yuan level. Those present are surprised by this question because there aren't many people in the Feng army, so there are no such masters among them. Then the hero asks if someone has a mutated spirit. The expression on the faces of the new recruits makes it clear that no. Then the guy asks those who have reached the spirit of destruction stage before the age of 20 to come forward. 5 years, because during training, only once every 3 or 4 years do they appear forward. 4 people come out. Tenjin states that he chooses them. Mei is hesitant, because as leaders they should have qualifications and be hired by management. She has big doubts. He is dark, claims to take care of the features, so the rest will depend on them. General Wu says that Tenjin can do as he pleases and can take them as long as he wants. There is a corpus of it. The hero also declares that in just 3 months the second building will return to its original site, previous location. The girl smiles, noticing that she will wait to see it. After that, Tenjin leaves with the new recruits, leaving the fair sex in a state of disarray. The tent, because she has something to finish. Returning to his house, the hero asks the 4 to introduce themselves. New recruits have the following names: Lai Wai, Liu Zongxing, Chen Fan, Ai Jia. The guy notices that the last one is girl. The trio of new recruits are amazed at this because they thought she was a guy, so they ask, why didn't she tell them she was a girl? The latter appeals to General Tang not to, understanding why he'd even asked. Tenjin also says that he does not care, a man, she or a woman, and if she's not as good as the others, he'll just replace her. Ai Jia, I like this approach, when it is treated the same as everyone else. This answer pleases the hero, so he says that it should be the best for him, after which he is aware of his principle: the strongest survives and weaklings die. New recruits incline heads, declaring that they will do whatever it takes. Tenjin says that in the future they will be his trusted assistants, so he appoints Yu as the first commander of the second corps. This assignment strikes a swordsman to the core. Seeing the hesitation in the eyes of the subordinate, the hero clarifies whether he agrees to this position. Guy immediately shows respect, thanking General Tang for such an honor and agreeing to this one. The hero continues to issue an assignment. This way, Le Tan will be the second in command, Lai Wai will be third, Liu Zong will be fourth, Chen Fang will be fifth, Ai Jia will be sixth, and Eugene will be his son. Deputy. The scientist mentally rejoices so much that he freezes for a few moments, after which he bows to his brother, thanking him for such a position. Tenjin notes to himself that only thanks to him, he now has an army. In the evening, the 2 brothers go to a banquet. Eugene reveals that the Wu family is on the front line. However, the hero notices that there are quite a lot of people here. Scholar Yi recalls that the Wu family, one of the 4 noble families in Feng, so most of the visitors came because of them. Forces. Tenjin is amused that in the capital they calmly arrange a banquet for the entire corps. At the entrance, the friends are stopped by a guard, demanding to show an invitation. Ni comes out to them, claiming they were her guests. The guards are a little surprised by this development, so they beg my lady's pardon, remarking that they did not know. The girl asks the hero to go inside with her. Tenjin asks her not to worry about it, calling her a friend. This my lady. The interlocutor notes that today the hero speaks very beautifully. When is Trinity? As he enters the banquet hall, many of the guests bow their heads, greeting Wu Mei with respect. Tenjin says it's very popular. General Wu nervously replies that this is normal, after which she leads the boy to her father. Approaching an older man with a beard and mustache, the girl draws his attention to herself, after which represents General Tang. The guy, realizing that he is referring to the head of the Wu family, bows his head in a respectful bow, expressing my deepest respect. The man notices that General Tang doesn't seem to be at all familiar, such as they say about him, because he is a person who naturally attracts attention. The guy says he doesn't deserve such praise. The leader of the Wu family states that if General Tang didn't show up, then his daughter was still in prison, trapped. The guy claims that it's all thanks to General Wu's plan, which he just carried out. Mi knows in her mind that he's still upset because she made him a decoy. The interlocutor also notices that Tenjin is so young, but at the same time very modest. And this is really true, a rarity in their time. The guy replies that he was just following orders. The head of the Wu family requests, so that General Tang wouldn't be so formal. He asks for forgiveness because he needs to leave early, and if the boy needs anything, all he has to do is tell the servants. Tenjin accepts it. As her father leaves, Mi turns to the boy, determined to find out what he meant by that. He says he was just praising her. The girl notices that the interlocutor believes that she. Funny, the hero notices that it was she who said this, and not he. He calls him an idiot. Then Tenjin starts laughing. When the two brothers return home, Eugene shares his thoughts, saying that he thinks that Brother Tang shouldn't be too close to Wu Mei. The hero decides to find out what the other person has in mind. Hugh, the scientist, says that Wu Mei is noble and beautiful, and if he gets too close to her, then people can get jealous and a disaster can happen. Tenjin asks what should he do if he wants her to be his, and then asks another question, what's his name? A woman can allow others to interfere in their relationship. After hearing this, Eugene he asks his brother to be careful. The hero understands everything perfectly. Morning comes. The hero gathers his people around him. He narrates that General Wu chose 4 people with experience, and if they have ideas for rebuilding the building, then they should put forward your own assumptions. A guy steps forward. He claims that everything is very organized. Good. Tenjin also notes that he will not ask for the training of new recruits, but he wants to, so that soldiers can ride horses and practice archery. General Tang asks if they can do it. The subordinate considers this inappropriate, because he does not understand why the 2nd Infantry Corps should be taught similar things. The hero emphasizes that he only asked if he could do it, or not. Tenjin says that if none of them can, then there is no need for them to stay in his house. The building. Recruits bow their heads in respect, knowing they have no other options. The experienced soldiers thought that he just got a place depending on his relationship with Wu Mei. Another believes that the recruits will escape in a few days. Only one thinks that once the leader, if he says so, then they should do what he wants. The 4 simultaneously declare that they will obey the general's orders. After this conversation, the hero went to see Mei. The other one couldn't believe her ears, not understanding. Why does her friend need 10,000 horses? So she decides to find out what he's up to. The same explains that he wants to conduct horse riding training. The girl perceives these words as if the guy decided to switch from the infantry corps to the knight corps, which she can't handle. To agree, Tenjin notes that he simply asked if she could give him horses. General Wu is trying to figure out why they need to ride. The hero decides to explain his plan. He comes in from a distance, asking if she knows what scares the knight. After receiving a negative response, the guy goes on to say that only the knight is aware of his weakness, so he won't know how to react when encountering enemy knights on the battlefield. The girl notices that this should be a big problem. Tenjin also emphasizes that apparently Miss Wu told him, doesn't trust me. The hero starts to leave, but the girl asks him to wait, saying that he will get 10,000 rubles. Horses are too difficult, but she can only provide 5,000. The guy's right there. He notices that they agreed on 5,000 horses. Mei gets the feeling that she's not going anywhere. Tricked, but she quickly comes to her senses, asking if he has some time. Tenjin replies that he was waiting to get his blades. This surprises her a little, so she hurries to clarify what it is about. The brunette tells what he actually asked for. Make 2 blades in Tongmen. But then the siege began, and they were not finished in time. However, the blacksmith went back to Yancheng, so he had to finish them. Mi says she's going to go crazy, because she would have liked to see what the blades were like before he came to her with a specific request. They're on their way. While walking down the street, Miss Wu decides to ask what the guy's plans are for future. The same person claims that he has nothing concrete. Then the girl clarifies, did not think whether he wants to get married and have children. The brunette notices that someone like him is not suitable for marriage and children, and no one ever. She won't love him. A representative of the fair sex asks him not to talk like that, because he, a good man. At that moment, she wants to take his hand, but Tenjin abruptly points his finger to the blacksmith shop. A young blacksmith holds out an order box. The old blacksmith notices that he has invested everything. Use your skills to craft these blades. The hero opens the box and a smile appears on his face. He pulls out both blades, feeling that they are very good. The old man asks the employer to try out the blade. He throws a rock in his direction. Tenjin covers the blades with dark flames, and then with a single swipe cuts through the flying sword. Object. Mei also realizes that this stage is a mutation of spiritual energy, and that the guy's strength is incredible. Tenjin sends a dense stream of energy through the blades. Their blades are drawn out, after which it connects their handles, transforming the blades into a spear. This demonstration amazes the smiths. Miss Wu asks how he was able to do this. The hero extinguishes the flame, returning the weapon to its original state. Initial state in 2 blades. He clarifies what she means. The girl explains that it's about the mutation stage of spiritual energy. The guy thinks that it doesn't matter, because he has excellent control over his spiritual life. Energy. He puts his blades back in their scabbards, after which Mei suggests that he go home. He also notes that he can't find any reasons why his skills are getting better and better. They are developing faster and faster. Tenjin thanks the blacksmiths for their work. The old man asks him to take care of himself, mentally noting that he is seeing the second stage of spiritual mutation for the first time. Energy consumption. A representative of the fair sex offers to eat something. The brunette agrees, emphasizing that he will pay. The girl asks if he has any money. The guy says that the last time she'd given him 10 gold pieces, he'd used 8 of them for his blades, so he had 2 gold pieces left. He points out that he doesn't need to save money because she can give him money if he doesn't have it. The hero abruptly stops, stating that he does not. He was going to use the woman's money, so he would return the 10 gold coins to her. Later, Miss Wu doesn't understand what's going on or why he's refusing. After that, Tenjin turns around, stating that he was going home and would eat alone. She says he is still a child. After, she exhales, smiling and grabbing his hand, insisting that she won't talk about it again. That's why she suggests we eat in private. The events unfold in the official residence of Tenjin. The hero adjusts his armor. When his friends approach him, he doesn't understand why they're still here today. Holiday. The hero also decides to find out if they feel tired after training for a long time. Half a month. The swordsman states that he is still weak. As long as he is able to follow Brother Tan, he is confident that he will be able to become stronger than ordinary soldiers. So he believes that this training makes him stronger. The basis of sustainable development. He also apologizes if they bother him. Tenjin also notes that they do a lot of work for it and also they are willing to learn. It basically needs to perform as a mentor, so there is no need to apologize because compared to the usual during the day, there is no need to put in much effort today. Archer and swordsman fall to their knees, asking them to teach new things. 2 guys simultaneously attack the hero from the back. Eugene watches from the sidelines. He, totally relaxed. Tenjin doesn't move from his seat. When the blows are almost upon him, it just disappears, moving at such a speed that it leaves its image blurry from the impact of the students. The swordsman requires repetition. The guy carries out a series of strikes, but General Tang calmly evades all attacks, holding hands behind your back. He's completely relaxed. Even an archer's attack in flight doesn't take him by surprise. Half a day passes. The students were exhausted. It turns out that they couldn't touch the mentor for all this time, even though it was an unreal fight. They want to know how he trained his body. The hero claims that it was very painful training. As a child, he lived deep in the mountains and forests. He wanted to keep his body warm so that he wouldn't die from the cold on top of the mountain. So he gathered wood every day with his clothes torn because he didn't have any other clothes. With every day in the forest, his speed, strength, and reaction time were getting better and better. Eugene wonders inwardly because he never expected Brother Tang to live like this. The 2 students finally understand the secret of their mentor's power. The scientist is the same, notices to himself that his appearance is bright and elegant. But in fact he has a history of suffering and poverty. What Eugene and the others don't understand is all because of the light shadows, because of which Tenjin appeared. His clothes were torn and he was mercilessly beaten by him, a master, and this left scars on the body and of course, a dark and terrible childhood. After moving into a cozy room and sitting down in the armchairs, Tenjin decides to ask if he knows Eugene anything about the situation in Tengmei. My brother tells me that the soldiers of Ning have left the city and Liang Kai is leading 20 units into the city to defend it, so they're at a dead end. The swordsman notices that he has heard that Liang Kai wanted to kill them, but now he won't be able to get out of it. Tengmei. Eugene notices that defending against the attack of Ning's soldiers has always been a problem. Liam family forces, but did not pose a threat to Liang Kai due to the fact that the king sent reinforcement, from which he received benefits in the form of fame, so the results double. The interlocutor notices that Liang Kai is very cunning, if this is the case. The scientist believes that the case, not even this guy, it's more like the Liang family head's plan. The swordsman understands that the Liang family wants to be the only one in power after all. Eugene's here. He draws attention to Tenjin, who didn't seem to be listening to them at all. Then a man bursts in with a report. He turns to General Tan, saying that Commander Den wants to see him. Tenjin even wonders what Deng Mai Yan wants. He orders me to let him in. Through. A few moments later, a battered soldier enters the room. Eugene laughs with the 2 guys, thinking that Commander Den was beaten up by someone or begged for money. The hero also smiles, asking if the subordinate looks like this because of their method. Training sessions. Den drops to his knees. The situation changes in seconds. It turns out that they were attacked by the 8th and 9th Infantry units. The Corps and AI Jia was apprehended by them. The laughter turns to surprise. The hero becomes serious. Tenjin decides to find out the details of how this happened. Commander Den narrates that this afternoon, the other leaders and he went out for a drink, and there they encountered the commanders of the 8th. and the Ninth Corps and their leaders. Since they are indestructible, they began to argue with them, but in the end, they did not agree with them. As a result, they were unable to defeat them, and Aijia is currently in their custody. The hero decides, find out who the leader of the 8th and 9th Infantry is. Eugene replies that if he is not mistaken, then Liang Yuan and Wu Lixing. They are both subordinates of the Emperor. The scientist emphasizes that Liang Yuan is also a member of the Liang family. In Tenjin's head, it starts. A picture is emerging. Commander Deng says they said General Tang was promoted only because of his relationship with General Wu. As it is, he only relies on his appearance and doesn't have a lot of money. There were such qualities as they had. The hero just smiles at this, asking where these people are now. The subordinate says they should be at the bar. Then Tenjin asks him to take him away. There, Commander Den agrees, though he notices to himself that General Tenjin isn't smiling. Emits an evil aura. He gets a premonition that something is going to happen. The archer and swordsman want to go with Brother Tan, but Eugene stops them, stating that there will be. It was too dangerous, so the two of them should go to General Wu and tell him everything. Boys, they accept the order. At this time, a group of people continues to drink in a dilapidated bar from a fight. Among them are Aijia, who is there clearly not of her own volition, as shown by her displeased face and torn clothes. One of those present notices that she is still stubborn. The other one asks for help. To this gentleman, the first one claims that the commander of their unit is just a dummy, so right now, he's so scared that he doesn't even dare show up. The crowd laughs at these words. Then Tenjin enters the bar, offering the guy to visit the brothel if they want to be served. A woman instead of hitting his boyfriends. One of those present clarifies who he is. The hero introduces himself, after which the interlocutor. He notices that this is a charming guy who is dating Wu Mei. His associates. They laugh, but Tenjin just grins. Then someone else intervenes, saying that Liang Yuan, going too far. Then the big man gets up from the table, asking who the hell he is to insult their leader. Behind, these are the words the goon is ready to destroy him with. The guy with the long tongue continues to provoke, pitching, going to him, and the hero also orders his people to stay in their places. Tenjin blocks the way of the terrible soldiers, asking them not to go too far, because they are all on the road. One side. The same person does not understand who is on the same side as the other person. The goon states that he's the second Chiliarch of the 8th Corps, so he can't even call him brother. Pretty boy. The hero also clarifies, unless a simple Chiliarch can talk to the head like this. Buildings. The big guy shouts that the guy is not the head of the corps at all, but a piece of shit. It attacks the hero. Tenjin intercepts the huge palm of the opponent, taking it aside, and then with a light, he bends it with emotion. An unpleasant crunch from breaking bones spreads around the environment. Hero, but it doesn't stop there. He strikes the enemy's neck with his foot, breaking the bones. The big guy who falls to the floor. Everyone falls into a stupor from this, and the hero turns to the general, Liang, noticing that his subordinate didn't understand the rules, so he taught him something instead. Tenjin asks if General Liang has any objections. The latter orders his subordinates, beat up the guy. The same crowd pounces on the hero, wanting to kill. The first opponent tries, strike with a stool. The hero also breaks it with a kick, after which he grabs wooden ones, shrapnel from it, sticking it in the head of the attacker and offering enemies not to waste his time in vain. Attack him en masse. Soldiers grab their swords, attacking the hero in a crowd. The latter also dodges attacks, each of them, and then notices that it's his turn. In a few seconds, it lowers all opponents to their knees. He leans over one of them, telling them not to let him go. Blamed him for not taking pity on him, because he should blame the leader of his unit, who didn't teach them proper manners. As soon as all the attackers lose consciousness, Tenjin asks General Liang to return them to him, a person who belongs to him right now. Otherwise, he will have to invite General Wu also participate. At this point, Commander Den realizes that their leader is very strong. Here to the throat, Aijia put their swords up, telling everyone not to move. Guys, let's get 800 likes and I will release a new part. Chapter 1-48. The hero continues to put pressure on a couple of young people who took Aijia hostage. One of them still fails. His inner coward is revealed. The weapon drops from his hands to the floor, and the guy himself falls on the 5th point, asking for forgiveness and trembling with fear. Tenjin also notes that he's a useless fool. The hero also clarifies whether Captain Wu wants to try to kill his subordinate. Of course that one. He is very tense, fearing for his life. Tenjin calmly approaches him and pulls the blade away, a sword from the throat of a subordinate, asking her to step aside. Aijia nods as he obeys the order. Captain Wu also asks what else the hero needs from him, because they have already released the girl. Tenjin, however, he notices that no matter how skilled he is, he won't have the strength to defeat him. Therefore, he has no choice but to use spiritual martial arts. The obvious provocation angers Captain Wu. Eugene also realizes that this has gone too far, and his brother wants to get their power. Hero. He licks his lips, not understanding what the other person is waiting for because he wants to kill him. Captain Wu. He bows his head, trembling with suppressed anger and fear. After that, Tenjin addresses all of Captain Wu's subordinates, calling them brainless and stupid, provoking a fight. It really works. Others attack him. Someone even uses her own spiritual martial arts. The scientist gets nervous, but the hero does the opposite. He rejoices in what is happening, releasing his sinister aura. Tenjin pulls out his blades, waiting for the enemy to attack. Weapons are covered with a dense layer of dark fire. The soldiers would have died if it hadn't been for me, who arrived at the bar just in time for the meeting. Conflict resolution. Captain Wu immediately falls to his knees in front of the girl, telling her that General Tang killed a few of their people just because of small problems. Eugene chimes in, stating that Captain Wu is very good at lying, because in fact, they were the ones who accused General Tang. They attacked first. The scientist also notes that they used weapons and combat skills until General Tang was only defending himself, and they came here because they were harassing their man. Captain Wu tries to find an excuse. At the same time, the second captain is shaking from the experience, terrified, unable to utter a single word. Mi is informed that she will sort this out, so they need to leave, and if she finds out about another group battle or the use of combat skills, then they will be severely punished. Tenjin just starts walking away. Eugene asks him to wait, after which he tells Miss Wu that they'll be the first to leave. She sighs heavily, realizing that now she will have to deal with this situation. Porridge. One of the captains decided to complain to his uncle, thinking that he should stand up for him. After all, Tenjin had killed 4 of his nephew's subordinates. The man also notices that a relative turned out to be an irresponsible leader because he watched how they killed him. A subordinate in front of him. The guy tries to justify himself, but gets a powerful beam from the clan leader who calls him useless trash because he started the job without even studying the opponent. Thereafter, the man makes it clear to the relative that the position of general is approved by the king, and if Tenjin got to his position through connections, then this means that the officials were stupid to choose it. It sounds like an insult to the king. The guy admits that he was wrong, but he did not want to speak badly about the officials. The clan leader is the same. He notices that Tenjin is very cunning. And even that day he was very eloquent because he started blame him, but put all the blame on his subordinate. The young captain thinks that this time, Tenjin decided to let him go. The man explains that the hero actually set a trap for them, because if he continued dealing with this murder case, he would definitely kill the captain. It turns out that he can't. Nothing to do with it or save the guy, because he can also be judged by defending a relative. The captain gets angry, claiming that he will call his brothers and they will finish him off. Chapter. Klana orders the guy to shut up, because he just finished talking about it, and he doesn't say anything. Continues. The man reminds that the captain belongs to the Liang family, and if this case comes up, that would affect their entire family, so he wouldn't let it destroy his family. Man, he says never to mention it again. The young man does not believe his ears, because it all sounds like the clan leader decided to just leave it as it is. The latter understands that it will be impossible to forget about it. Events take place in a military camp. Tenjin specifies whether there are any movements in the family. Eugene gives a negative answer, noting that the Liang family also does not want to do this. However, because it will not benefit anyone, he then notes that now the Liang family, he builds up his strength, and they don't want to be shaken by anything, but he asks his brother to be there. Be careful with the Liang family, because they can harm him from the shadows. The hero replies that he knows this. The scientist says that the mission this time was a huge success, so General Wu wanted to praise him. Tenjin sheaths his blades and goes to Mei. The girl declares that then the issue is resolved, since he knows exactly what needs to be done, so they don't have to do it. I need her father's help. The hero also notes that if it were not for the help of General Wu, General Liang with his attitude definitely wouldn't let this matter be resolved so easily, so the guy claims it's all thanks to Miss Wu. Mi notices that she doesn't dare accept the honor, although her lips break into a smile at the praise. Tenjin clarifies that Miss Wu wouldn't have come here to tell him just that. Interviewee. He replies that she is not free enough to come to him for radium. Mei came to give his army's first assignment. The hero immediately asks what task is in question. Begins a short story on behalf of General Wu, as different countries are in a state of after the war. The emperor sent a man to stop it. This person is the princess. Their mission is to go to the borders of Feng and make sure that the princess is safe. He arrived at Yan City. Tenjin decides to ask if there is a need to mobilize the whole army. An army to protect one person. The girl notes that the mobilization of an entire army. It shows how important this issue is for the country. And if the princess was injured, it would not be Not only him, but the heads of everyone from the Wu family will also roll, so the mission this time is very important. The hero understands that he has been assigned a very important task. He doesn't even know what his name is. To support. When she's gone, he wonders what his position will be if he doesn't have her. They'll give you a promotion. Eugene assumes that Brother Tan will be able to manage when promoted. 2 or 3 armies. Tenjin notices that then he is not interested in it. Guy. He opens the doors, asking his subordinates if they are ready. After receiving a positive response, he orders everyone to set out. Looking at the map, Eugene realizes that they are going to Biguan, which is located not far from Fengshui borders. After hearing this, the hero decides to ask how much his brother knows about Biguan. The scientist has just a general idea. Biguan is a small rural town located to the north from the main Feng forces. The city manager is called Yinbu. Then Tenjin wants to know how much it will take some time to reach Biguan. Eugene explains that they will have to pass through the city, Wan, Giant City and Chun City, so the journey to Biguan will take about 7 days. Then the hero asks his deputy to pass the order to everyone that they should speed up the pace. At the same time, in Biguan, the leader of the city, standing on the protective wall, thinks about when he will be able to leave this damned place. Then he sees the army approaching. After that, go to it. A subordinate runs up, saying that the capital has sent people and that this is the second army of the Wu family, the leader of which is called Tenjin, and their number is 500 units. The man is happy that they are here to accompany the princess. Tenjin meets at the gate with General Yin. The latter welcomes everyone, noting that he has been here for a long time. He had heard of General Tang's name, and now that he saw it, he was convinced that he was definitely very. They are courageous. The hero replies that the man is too polite. Eugene reports that they are. They have arrived to accompany the princess, so he is in a hurry to find out when she will arrive in Biguan. General Yin states that it will take approximately 2 days. Tenjin clings to the word roughly, deciding to clarify. Did the princess in the other capital not send people to inform them? The mayor says that they still have no information. The hero decides to wait 2 days and then deal with this issue. The interlocutor offers him to go inside because he has already prepared a place to live for him. When Tenjin is alone with his brother and begins to eat, he notices that Yinbu doesn't look like a normal person. Very good. Eugene says that Yinbu is quite unhappy because without the king's approval, he can't leave here, so he has to guard this place for the whole year, and he's here. It's been 10 years. Tenjin puts the chopsticks on the table, asking his brother to cook more meat and wine so that he can go and find Yinbu to have a drink. The scientist accepts the order. The hero comes to the house of Yinbu. The man is preparing his sword for battle when the guy enters the room. Tenjin puts a jug of wine and a plate of tea on the table, offering a snack and a drink with it. General Yin doesn't understand why he's doing this. The man takes a bite of meat, then is going to drink wine from the thicket, but does not do it, asking if General Tang was checking him out, since they weren't allowed to drink in the camp. The hero pours it out, alcohol to himself, stating that he will drink to it first. Tenjin drinks the thicket, after which the interlocutor repeats after him, who, having emptied the container, he claims that this wine is really good, even though he hasn't drunk wine in 3 years. The hero is the same, decides that this time they will drink themselves to death. After drinking 2 bottles, General Yin reveals that he envies the fact that a drinking buddy works and, well, he hadn't been home in years. Tenjin doesn't understand why not send request to the king. Yinbu explains that he sends almost every month, but there is always no response. The man admits that at times he would like another country to attack, because then he would have been killed. He was relieved of his position, but he would still be worried about his own people. Pouring another bowl. However, Tenjin noticed that he is a really good general, so he offers to drink it down. Their sorrows. The interlocutor understands that this is very well said. In the morning, everyone is roused to their feet, announcing that the country's army has been spotted moving through the city, in the direction of the city, so all units need to prepare for defense. Buyan sees that this army has the king's flag in the center, so it's probably the army defending the princess. A horseman comes forward from the army. He loudly announces his name and the purpose of the visit. This is General Liu Gan from the land of Mo. He is accompanying the princess here, so he asks their general to come out to them for a conversation. Tenjin says that he will go out and meet the princess himself, and General Yin should stay ready. The latter takes note of this, asking the guy below to wait a bit. He clicks nervously at this, but he has nothing to do. The gate opens, after which the hero comes out of the city on a horse on the bridge. With it, a small group of subordinates is moving. He decides to find out who is standing in front of him. The hero explains that he is the commander of the second armies of the country of Feng, Tenjin. The interlocutor laughs at this, saying that he is only an army officer leader, so it's obvious that Feng is losing the Ning War badly since they sent a pitiful one. The warlord will accompany the princess. The hero also claims that the army leader, enough to keep the princess safe, and if they want to mobilize more, it will show that the Mo country does not want peace. The interlocutor states that this is blatant disrespect to the princess. Tenjin notices that respect for the princess is not expressed through his speech and, especially, not through its rehearsed lines. After that, it highlights that it can have many free time, but because of it, the hero cannot allow the princess to enter the city. The blonde man grits his teeth, but then gestures an order. Princess escort is moving forward. The cart stops in front of the hero, who blocks its path. Two girls leading her and, dressed in knight's armor, they start a conversation with a dark-haired man. Tenjin decides to find out if it's okay. How does the princess feel when traveling? Security guards claim that the road was closed, tiring, so the princess is resting. The hero also asks to open the cart so that he can open it. Checked it out. The girls think this is a very bold act, because he does not have the right to do this, and this, insulting the princess. Tenjin also explains that he must make sure that there is a real princess, otherwise he wouldn't let them pass. The guard calls the guy very brave, and then draws a sword, demanding that I was leaving immediately. This action surprises the hero's subordinates, and the blonde who spoke before, this one with Tenjin, smiles during it. The archer draws the bowstring, preparing to fire a shot, and the swordsman draws his sword, preparing to start battle. The hero calls them to stop with a hand gesture. He insists on seeing the princess. This angers her, but a voice from the cart asks Xiaoming to step back, because if that's what he wants, then let him check it out. The princess emphasizes that no one wants to become an enemy of the royal family, so they definitely won't hurt her. Tenjin recognizes this voice. The guard puts her sword back in its scabbard, stating that the guy will regret it. The latter bows his head, saying that he is convinced that the princess in the cart. The hero orders his men to accompany the princess, after which he thanks the blonde for helping to accompany the royal highness. He replies that it's not worth it. The blonde man pulls out his spear, pointing it at the other man. He offers to fight. Once fate had brought them together here. The hero shakes his head. The guy takes it so that Tenjin was afraid of a fight with him, but he explains that they are from different countries, so if there was an accident, it would affect the relations between their countries, which it could lead to war. The blonde man doesn't understand how some pathetic chiliarch dares to be so arrogant. He smiles sharply. Subordinates ask the hero to pay attention to the interlocutor. The rider raises the spear over the ground, head first, ready to strike, and not understanding how the other dared twist his words. He wants teach him doom today, and in his mind's eye, no one will believe the pathetic hierarch, and it wouldn't change anything if he killed him. But the blonde's hopes were being dashed before his eyes. Blade. His spear cracks and then breaks before it hits. Those present do not understand how the general's blade could have broken, because Tenjin did not even know what to do. He moved. Only Eugene realizes that Brother Tang has used his trick. The hero also notices that even the blonde's weapon doesn't want war, and then he says goodbye to it. The guy doesn't believe in what was happening, because he hadn't even noticed what had happened. It starts analyzing what happened in my head. The blonde man is aware that he feels a slight squeezing sensation, which it comes from a dark-haired man, but he's just a pathetic chiliarch. The guy realizes that he doesn't even have evidence against him. When Tenjin enters the city, the bridge rises. General Yin immediately asks if everything is in order. I'm fine with it. The hero assures that everything is fine. Eugene also realizes that if they had started a battle, it would ruin their plans and cause a lot of trouble, and if he wasn't mistaken, Brother Tang decided not to waste any time on it, as he wouldn't be able to absorb it now. But Brother Tang used a shadow clone, meaning he used some spiritual energy to make the clone's body. It wasn't real. When the shadow and the halberd touched each other, Brother Tang used his power on it, thereby causing it to crack. The scientist notices that his brother is very strong, since he needs to manage to fix this awkward situation, although it was expected from the person on whom equals Eugene. Tenjin informs that he has to accompany the princess back, so he sets off immediately. Yinbu had hoped that this day would never come, but he wondered when they will meet again next time. The hero also notices that if fate allows, they will meet again, and he also wants Brother Yin to go back to his city so they can have another drink. General Yin asks Brother Tang to be careful on the road and take care of himself. The guy asks for the same thing. Your friend. After a while, Tenjin asks Eugene to go ahead and tell Guyu and the others to. We stopped for a rest stop. The scientist accepts the order, and after a few minutes, the squad does. A bus stop. The princess asks Xiaoming when they will reach the next city. Girl reports that it's late afternoon. The hero doesn't understand why this voice sounds so familiar. His thoughts are torn out by the security guard, saying that the princess wants to ask him something. Tenjin approaches the carriage, stating that her subordinate is here and asking what the princess orders are for him. She also asks if he can go out and take a break. This request introduces the hero to confusion. Seeing this, Xiaoming explains that the princess has been in the carriage all this time, not daring to leave. Tenjin does not understand these words, mockingly emphasizing that there were no monsters outside. The girl asks General Tang to watch his words in front of the princess. The guy states that if the princess wants to, then she can go out and take a break. Even if the monsters are really bad, they will appear. Her subordinate will deal with them. The royal person gets out of the carriage. Tenjin freezes from what is happening. The pupils of his eyes narrow in disbelief. The first person to notice something is Xiaoming, who asks what's wrong. Hero. He also asks if Shui Jing is standing in front of him. The princess doesn't understand the question. In that, the moment something goes off in the guy's head, the guard is trying to figure out if General Tan is okay. The same one asks why she. That's what I did to him. It is controlled for a few moments by the spirit that controls it. He asks questions. Why did she betray him? Why did she hurt him? Are all these vows really true? They were lies. The princess doesn't understand what's going on with Chiliarch Tan. Xiaoming stands between the princess and the hero, telling him not to come any closer. At that time, Eugene walks through the crowd, wanting to know what happened. Chapter 1-56. Tenjin tries to resist the power of the spirit, but he can't do it. Eugene I realizes that General Tang has become possessed, so he orders the others to quickly stop. His subordinates attack the hero. The spirit screams that he will definitely kill her, but the next moment it turns out that he is not going to kill her. It is located in the subconscious. Tenjin turns up behind him, telling him that this has already happened 500 years ago, so the feud between them was already over and Shui Jing and Xuanchun had already. The hero admits that he hates his attempts to influence him because he just a memory, so it will no longer obey it. Tenjin covers his hand with dark flames and then stabs the spirit, which dissolves after that. At this time, the crowd piled on top of their leader. Eugene commands them, calling to stop Chiliarch Tang. A powerful burst of energy throws everyone present in different directions. The hero gets up on his feet. Legs. Xiaoming is surprised by what just happened. The scientist tries to justify himself by saying, "What is it? Accident." Tenjin falls to one knee, asking the princess not to take it personally. What just happened? She accepts this, claiming that everything is fine. Tenjin is about to leave, but the princess wants to know who Shui Jing is for the Chiliarch. Tenjin, the hero declares that they can consider him a beloved woman. The squad gets to the city. Tenjin gives out instructions. 4 of them he orders to take the men and keep an eye on the north, south, west, and east while Aijia protects the princess. Eugene tells him that Mr. Li wants to see him. When the subordinates leave, the hero decides, ask your brother if he knows the reason. He gives a negative answer. After visiting Mr. Lai, Tenjin immediately gets down to business. It turns out that the man, he has prepared a banquet to be held tonight, so he wonders if he will come. Princess. The hero notices that she is currently resting after the road, so she will not be able to attend his banquet. The man gets upset about this, asking if he will come then. General Tang. It is clear that the guy wants to refuse, but Eugene intervenes, stating that Chiliarch Tang will be there today. Mr. Li declares that they will celebrate his arrival. After that, he leaves, and Tenjin immediately. He asks who allowed his brother to answer for him. Eugene explains that although the rank is urban, Brother Tang should be present. There's no need to insult him. The hero accepts these words, deciding that it is worth seeing this banquet. Evening comes. Eugene. He waits for his friend at the entrance to his room, noting that it's almost time for the banquet. Tenjin exits from his room in luxurious clothes. The brothers go to a banquet. At the same time, a squad of people. The masked man notices that the man named Tenjin is gone. They're going to take advantage of this. For now, Tenjin decides to step aside to take a break from the formal event that is currently taking place. Much to his annoyance, Eugene answers the guests' questions. All questions relate to the princess. What's interesting is what she looks like, how she behaves, and what she looks like when she talks. Scientist. She puts everything on the shelves, telling us that Her Majesty speaks innocently and elegantly. Leads. He behaves politely and intelligently, and communicates courteously. The hero is glad that a friend helps him with this, but at heart, his alarm appeared. He begins to guess what might be causing this. At the same time, a masked man attacks Wen Chenzin. He uses the spiritual, a martial art of quickly and effortlessly removing guards. Xiaoming orders to protect the princess. Another attacker notices that such garbage is not even worth the effort. Have to. He stretches out a hand covered in spiritual energy, declaring that they will all die. Today, the armored soldiers step back. One of the soldiers flies out of the window. At the same time, the first assassin counts the number of people he has killed. There are already more than 6 of them. He snaps back at his friend, noticing that they are all having fun while he was restraining them all this time using spiritual energy. Jumped out from the window, he replies that all this is nonsense, because he can kill in the next mission. The first one claims it's so easy that it's like slicing vegetables. Here the swordsman attacks one arrogant fool. He approaches him from behind, intending to stick a sword in my back. The second assassin rushes to the aid of a friend. Using energy control, he manages to come to the aid of a colleague in time. A powerful blow with a knee in the gut, he sends the subordinate Tenjin a dozen meters back from the guy's mouth. Blood starts spurting, and he tries to get up from his knees. The assassin slowly approaches him, noticing that the enemy is still able to move under him. That kind of pressure, so it's pretty good for a commander of 1,000. After that, the killer. He raises his sword over his head, saying that the bad thing is that he is following the wrong leader. The swordsman already has. There is no strength to resist. But the attacker's attack is taken on the block by the hero who is on time. Appeared. The assassin is surprised that a Tenjin can use shadow movement. Tenjin does not stand still, waiting for the enemy to attack. He immediately throws a kick, forcing the opponent to stop him. The assassin must retreat. The attack passes close to the enemy's head, but the hero takes advantage of this by sending a message. The last one to fly. The carcass of a friend knocks down the second attacker. The pressure of spiritual energy decreases. The soldiers feel it, because now they can do a little more. Move. One of the assassins reports that he will no longer be able to restrain them with his energy. He wants to tell the leader about what happened, but Tenjin interrupts him, ordering him to go to the police station. Ai Jai is with her to protect the princess if he can move, and he'll sort it out here. The swordsman accepts the boss's order. At the same time, one of the assassins offers to kill the hero. Together, he is stopped by a friend, demanding to use spiritual pressure again. It turns out that the attacker decided to deal with Tenjin alone, only asking his comrades help him control his spiritual pressure. Masochist sends several waves to the hero. Spiritual energy with a swing of your sword. Tenjin calmly passes through the wave, closing in on the enemy. Their collision is carried around the world. Kill with the clang of weapons touching. The killer slides backward, slowing down the force of the impact. With your feet and a sword stuck in the ground. He admits that he underestimated the hero because he stayed just as agile, so it will let him see his trump card. The attacker uses wind clones, creating multiple doppelgangers. Tenjin has 6 enemies to kill. He realizes that he will have to kill everyone. 6 clones, but his first attack fails to reach its target. This is becoming a problem. After all these clones are just shadows, and he doesn't have time for this, so he decides to take the risk. The hero sticks his blades into the ground, from which dark flames emanate, simply provoking the enemy to attack. The latter perceives this as a sign of the enemy's surrender, so he plunges into them. Tenjin shows his weapon, saying that he doesn't care if he surrenders or not. It scares the guards. The hero also grabs the enemy's weapon, starting to pull it out of his body. It envelops him. Dark flames, and a smile appears on the face, which terrifies even experienced warriors. Kuyu receives a powerful punch to the face, which causes him to fall to one knee. Aijia strongly. She's worried about her friend, even though she's also hurt. The swordsman declares that he will not let the enemy get close to the princess, even if it costs him his life. The girl also notes that the enemy is too strong, and they are no match for him, so they need to stall for time and wait for their brother. Tana. The killer says he's had enough fun with them, so it's time to get it over with. By this, it releases its spiritual power, covering the body with armor. Xiaoming suggests attacking everyone. Together, they must stop him. The enemy declares that they will not allow them to meet with death. At the same time, outside, Tenjin impales himself on the enemy's sword, gradually approaching him. The opponent thinks that the guy is just impatient to commit suicide. But the next time, for a moment, the hero's hand falls on his face. The hero completely absorbs the arrogant killer with the help of a dark flame. This forces. After that, Tenjin pulls the huge sword of the absorbed enemy out of his body, falling to the ground. The guards rush to his aid, believing that the Chiliarch was severely weakened. In front of the hero, an exact copy of him is formed from black energy. Murderers don't understand how to do this. Manage to create a spiritual warrior from the energy of darkness. The comrade declares that it is only a matter of time. A simple clone, so he confidently goes out to battle with it. The copy's hand is covered in a dark flame, but the opponent emphasizes that he will not be intimidated. A normal clone, but the same clone pierces the upstart's body with his hand. The last of the attackers on the street realizes that it smells like burning, because just a clone is not capable of killing people. At the same time, the clone of the hero turns to the last victim. Not understanding the enemy's capabilities and fearing his strength, the guy decides to take a strategic approach. A retreat, but that's just not fast enough to go far. The hero catches up with him in a couple of seconds, for a few moments, until he had run 10 meters. The third assassin's scream echoes through the area. The guards realize that they are all dead. They are also struck by the terrifying and powerful energy of the Chiliarch. At the same time, the original gets up from his knees, merging with the copy. The guard decides to address him. They accept the order, after which it is sent to building. At this time, inside, the princess defenders were defeated. Xiaoming asks the lady to run away, but she doesn't even think about it. The last killer notices that the princess should take care of herself, because there is no one else who could protect her. He raises his weapon over the girl's head, intending to drive it into her body. The attacker freezes for a few moments, admitting that he's a little sorry to kill such a woman. A beauty. In the next second, his body is pierced by the blade of Tenjin, who arrived in time for the attack. Help! His blades are already combined into a scythe, with the help of which he throws the enemy out, away from the princess, after which he apologizes for being late. The last attacker admits that he was too careless. He folds his hands in a strange gesture. Then it disappears from its place, ending up behind the princess. Tenjin reacts instantly, grabbing the princess by the waist and taking the enemy's blow on the blade of his scythe. The confrontation lasts for several seconds. The hero confidently wins it using only one card, throwing the assassin out of the way. When the enemy flies away, he gathers his strength to make a dash for a new attack. However, Tenjin doesn't allow you to do this. The blade of the scythe is extended with dark energy, causing damage to a blow to the killer. He even understands before hitting that this is not good. And when the hero's attack overtakes, then his weapons and armor are shattered. He himself falls to his knees, not understanding how simple it is. A Chiliarch can have such powerful spiritual power. He decides that he must leave this place. But no one will let him do it. Tenjin appears in front of him. He swings the scythe above him, then strikes, but stops it when the blade is almost gone. It touched the attacker's face. The hero decides to find out who he is and who sent him here, emphasizing that if he told him, he would let him go. The killer only laughs at this, claiming that Tenjin is just a simple man, a dog, and his days will soon be over. The hero does not hold back, demolishing the head of an obvious provocateur. Several soldiers are running down the stairs. In the corridors, they are met by the corpses of comrades who were ruthlessly killed by the attackers. The archer runs up to the leader with his companions, asking if the princess is all right. Hero. He tells her that everything is fine with her, but he doesn't understand why they came just now. Guy. He bows his head in a respectful bow, asking the Haliarch not to get angry because they were able to move only after he destroyed the spiritual pressure. The hero also remembers that these four. I wasn't alone. Tenjin gives out orders. He wants Latan and Lai Wai to take Guyu and Ai Jia to the doctor, and Deng Mingquan brought Lai Zion to him. If he resists, then he can use it. Power. Subordinates begin to follow his orders. When Mr. Li falls to his knees in front of the hero, Eugene tries to understand what happened. Before, the scientist has heard rumors that the princess was attacked, but it is important for him to know what really happened. Tenjin tells his brother to ask Lai Zion everything. The latter claims that he is. It has nothing to do with this incident. After all, he was just drinking wine in the palace. The suspect emphasizes that Eugene was present there. The hero makes it clear that as soon as he went to the banquet, an assassination attempt was made, so it doesn't seem like an accident. He asks who ordered the suspect to do this, or if he did not do it. There is a culprit. Mr. Li insists to the end that this is just a misunderstanding. The man states that even if he gave him the men to do it, he wouldn't dare kill the princess, and if he did, he wanted to die. He still has a family waiting for him at home. Tenjin claims that he forced him to tell the truth, then remind him that as a city lord, he should be familiar with pain. During the torture, Mr. Li says that he is not guilty, crying while doing so. Then the guy orders. Eugene points out that this may not be related to Lai Zhang, because he was a city boy, a lord for over 10 years, not to mention timid. In addition, the scientist emphasizes that he had behaved perfectly normally during the banquet, and in this state of affairs, it was unlikely that he would have. He could have been so carefree. The hero notices that the fact is that the enemy was ready, and if Mr. Lai is not involved in this, why did it happen right after he left? Eugene understands that this is a good argument. After that, it dawns on the guy. He suggests that Lai Zion may have simply used it because someone could just ask him to hold a banquet. Tenjin realizes that he doesn't. I thought about it. At this point, the two brothers' conversation is interrupted by Xiaoming. The girl says that the princess wants to see him. The hero replies that he will approach her now. After that, he turns to Eugene, wanting him to go and interrogate Lai Zion because they don't know what to do. They can just leave this case because someone must be held accountable. The scientist asks, "Don't worry, he already knows what to do." When the brother leaves, the hero starts a conversation with a beaten girl. He's a little surprised that she can move now. The same says that she used spiritual arts to heal herself while she was escorting him. Take the princess home. He thanks the guy for coming then. Tenjin mockingly thanks her for her gratitude. It makes her angry because she doesn't understand. Why shouldn't she have thanked him? In the next instant, Xiaoming opens the door to the princess's chambers, which is already waiting for the hero. The two security guards in the room are startled by the guy's appearance. The princess also remembers how Tenjin saved her during the killer's attack. She is embarrassed by those memories. The girl decides to ask if Chiliarch Tenjin is injured, because all his clothes are stained with blood. Hero. She lowers her gaze, realizing it's true, and then he thanks her for bothering him, telling him he's fine. Tenjin notices that he should go and freshen up, after which he asks the princess not to worry, considering that there will be no accidents today. The other person stutters in mid-sentence, not knowing how to ask for something important. The guy decides to find out if the princess wants anything. The latter clarifies whether it can stay the night here. This is a little confusing for the hero, but he quickly comes to his senses. Tenjin states that he will immediately go and change his clothes, after which he will protect her. Being outside the door, the girl thanks Chiliarch Tenjin for this, and he notes that he is not here. Nothing special. After that, he takes his leave. After a while, the hero is already at the entrance to the princess's chambers, guarding her. I changed my clothes and washed. He is approached by Eugene, who tells him that they have just met. The interrogation ended, and it turned out that Li Zion was actually being used. Tenjin decides to find out what his brother means. The same one explains that today's banquet wasn't Li's idea, Zion, and someone asked him to do it. This person is a merchant passing by. Cities of Van. That merchant said he wanted to see the princess, so he paid Li Zhang for holding a banquet. The scientist thinks they plan to strike there. Eugene notices that he has already sent people to find the merchant's location, but he has already escaped. The hero shares his thoughts. He realizes that the reason for killing the princess is to stop conclusion of a truce between the Ning and Mo countries. This leads him to believe that in the palace there were rats. Tenjin decides to ask his brother if the assassins arrived because of the rat's order. Then, who is this person? Eugene doesn't know the answer because anyone can be a mole. Exclude. Not even the 4 powerful families from Fang country. The hero thinks for a few seconds. After a few moments, he says that this case is not something they can handle, so all they need to do is take care of it. What you need to do is protect the princess. Tenjin understands that Li Zion will not be able to escape from responsibility, so what they need to do is get him to the palace. Hero. He tells her that he will protect the princess tonight, and that his brother will help her deal with the others. Eugene makes this decision. Left alone, the hero reflects on the situation. He remembers what the Feng army suffered. Great losses fighting against the Ning troops. He understands what is behind all this, and the appearance of the rats must have a reason. Tenjin notices to himself that it is not profitable for Feng to stop. This war, however, may be just the tip of a huge conspiracy. The hero is important to understand who they are like this and what is their ultimate goal. Then the sound of a door opening echoes down the hall. The princess looks out of the room, addressing the guard. Tenjin decides to ask why she is still awake. The girl comes out, handing him a blanket and saying that it was cold tonight, so she brought him something to hide in. Tenjin thanks the princess, but the princess says that it's not worth it. There is an awkward pause when they are being held back. Our eyes collide. The girl wishes him a good night as she goes to her chambers. Hero. The guy sits down on the floor, covering himself with a blanket, a representative of the fair sex. He leans on the other side of the wall, pressing his fist to his heart. On her face appears a good-natured smile. The night passes quickly. Tenjin wakes up to the sun shining in his eyes. She folds the blanket carefully as she goes about her business. Eugene is already on his feet. He's a little surprised to see his brother. The hero immediately asks what? Did they sleep all last night? And are they still investigating the murderers who attacked yesterday? The scientist admits that they did not sleep, but they did not find anything. The guy explains that I gathered all the leaders to divide into 5 groups and search the city, but the mercenaries disappeared. Therefore, they couldn't find the ringleader after searching all night. Tenjin. He admits that he expected something like this, because they came quite prepared. Eugene reveals that he sent Guyu to organize an army while his brother was guarding the princess. Ming informs the princess that they will soon arrive in Yan City. The hero together with they lead the squad. The gates to the city open and a small squad appears from them. Tenjin notices that the army has raised a flag, which means that King Feng is meeting the princess personally. Indeed, on a small pedestal, at the head of which are 2 coachmen, sits a man with blue hair and a matching beard. This is King Feng Chen Hua. Tenjin dismounts, then greets the king, bowing his head in a respectful bow. He considers it an honor to meet him in person. He also introduces himself as the leader of the second corps, Tang Yin. The king notes that such work must be difficult for the Tang Yin Chiliarch, Tenjin, but he says that the king overestimates him because he, as his subordinate, hardly did his job. Work. The man decides to find out if everything is all right with the princess. The hero thanks for His Majesty is concerned, adding that the princess is fine. Realizing that the guy did a good job, the king informs that he will be awarded a large award. Rewards for protecting the princess. He also notices that the task of accompanying the princess, it must have been burdensome, so he and his companions can rest by leaving. Everything else is for them. Tenjin thanks His Highness for this. The king orders his soldiers to form up to greet the princess. Country of origin. Very respectful of the princess, the king not only received everyone, but even arranged a feast in the palace. This shows that he represents the royal family, gathered for the feast. Many people of noble origin from all over the Fen Kingdom. This technique is rare. You can even see it in the four most influential families in the country of Feng. Meanwhile, Mi is having a conversation with her sister. The latter tells us that although there was one accident, they still got here safely. The girl notes that Tang Yin is quite patient. Mi takes a sip of her tea and reminds me that this is natural, because he is a leader who was personally appointed by her. My sister asks me to stop. Boast. General Wu looks up at the moon. She's mentally glad they made it here. It was safe, but for some reason, she felt a slight sense of unease. The Feng bigwigs meeting begins. The head of Wu suggests raising the Chiliarch to the rank of General Zhengxi and give him the ability to manage 3 armies. He opposes this idea. The head of the Liang family, claiming that Tang Yin is still young and unable to handle this situation. A duty and definitely not suitable for being a Zhengxi general. King. He notices that they can't judge him solely by his age. The head of state declares that I've already made my decision. Chiliarch Tang Yin will be promoted to General Zhengxi because he can't do something else, so Assistant Liang can stop. The head of the Liang family decides to nominate another suggestion that is much better. He recommends changing the name slightly. This, immediately annoying the head of the Wu family. The man with the blue curls keeps talking. This country is in the Tanyuan region. From the Pingyuan district is often attacked and harassed by the Morphe gang. In the last time, their forces are not there enough to hold off the onslaught of the enemy, causing their country to suffer big losses. The head of Liang proposes to assign the rank of General Zhengxi to Chiliarch Tang Yin, and if they send him to that region, General Tang Yin will definitely be able to stabilize him there. Their position. Chief Wu intervenes, noting that General Tang Yin has a rare talent, and if they will place it there, it is equivalent to burying talent. Chapter Zhang addresses this argument against the interlocutor, clarifying whether Wu Zhang considers his northern region useless or can. The situation in the northern region seems very stable to him. Mei's father is forced to accept defeat in this verbal altercation, which is stopped. A king who understands both of their suggestions, but decides to do exactly what he suggested. Head of Liang, announcing that today he will order the appointment of Tenjin to Pingyuan County, conferring on him the rank of General Zhengxi. A man with blue curls makes excuses to Wu. Zhang is saying that he is not going against him, but simply that he is doing everything possible for the sake of his country. Head Wu states that Assistant Liang's actions make him really admire her. That, however, he notices that the other person is flattering him. The king notices that Tang Yin's position has been determined. However, at the moment, it's already quite late, so he suggests we leave it at that. Meeting. Wu Zhang is not happy with the results of this meeting, unlike the head of Liang. Coming home, head of Wu, seething with anger, because all his efforts invested in Tang Yin have gone to waste. Daughters try it. Come. Mei asks him not to worry, because it may affect his health. Man, he sits down in a chair. And while the younger sister gives her father tea, the older sister guesses that the old one is a good girl. The fox had thought of this whole plan to separate his father and Tang Yin.